Okay, here we go. Once again, peace, everyone. Shabbat shalom. See, our
Shabbat
producer's
shalom.
here early. Oh, peace, Chief. Yeah. Peace, everybody who's coming into the space. Peace, our root.
Peace, Master Melech, Chief Yuya, to everyone. We give peace and Shabbat shalom to everyone.
Yeah, man. How's your how did your strong go?
Today went pretty good. Um, as I was preparing for our segment today, I was able to go to a place, where it's nature. And as I was meditating, preparing for our topic, little girl, she had to be about maybe 2.5 years old. And she came over and she was smiling and everything. And so I was like, she was touching the plant. And that helped me to really enjoy the moment because even though I was meditating, preparing for the moment, it's just beautiful the simplicity of children. And my mom was like, "Oh, you made new friends and everything." So it was a good day. It was a good day.
All right, that's good. That's good. Sometimes moments like that. Oh, there's an echo. Peace, Alexandria Grice and Agiel Karar. Hopefully that fixed it. Is there still an echo? Let us know, please. Yeah, moments like that they help you to. Well, let me pause and see if there's a response in the chat. Okay. Um, no echo. Okay, cool. I think I have my
Yeah, you sound good. You're all
device
good.
up too loud, and it's probably reflecting through both of our things. Give thanks, Alexandria Grace. Um, Peace, top tier speakers. Yeah, yeah, man. I really appreciate it. I appreciate moments like that. There was a moment at the summer retreat last year, and Abba Harut is echoing. Oh,
I'm echoing. Yeah, I am echoing.
you're echoing?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I don't know how to fix that.
Wow.
Make sure you. I don't know.
I don't have nothing else playing in the background.
Okay, you have nothing else playing in the background. I'm not sure what could be going on your end.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, Abba Root is the fuzz. You in a wire.
Wow.
Mm, let's see something here.
We apologize, everyone. This technical difficulty. We're trying to make some adjustments.
Well, let's try this. I'll remove you from the stream,
Okay.
and then you can take the wire off and come back on. Because
You said take the wire off?
yeah, take the wire off, and we'll see if that changes anything.
Okay.
All right, so just join right back in. All right, so peace to everybody who's still flowing in. Peace in Manile. Peace, South Harbor. Yeah, man, but those moments are really good when you see children just being, just enjoying themselves and enjoying life. All right, let's see if this changes anything. All right, our root.
I don't hear any echo. Oh, dang it. There it goes again.
Oh, you hear an echo on your side?
I think it sounds like for me I can hear. I don't know about for everybody else.
I don't hear anything on my side, but apparently everyone else was hearing an echo. So we'd have to see if they can still hear it. Can everyone still hear an echo from our Haru?
Testing.
Peace, Mayuba. Peace, Sister Sovereign. Okay, just mute my mic when he speaks, or put in some headphones. Let's see. All right, we's getting it.
Oh, I do. Now I turned it off.
Oh, so you are the first.
How about it now? That's better, right? Okay. No YouTube. So, gotcha. So that's what it was. I think
Okay.
that is. So I
Okay.
can't see anything on YouTube or so.
All right. So it looks like we're gonna have perfect. Everyone's saying it's better. Great. This is
Better?
good.
Great.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, but
We'll
the
make it
no
roll.
effects allowed. Yeah. Peace, Sister Yafe. All right. Cool. So yeah, you were telling me about your day. The little girl she was just chilling. That sounded like the highlight of your day.
Mm-hmm. And my students. Yeah, they were highlights too.
The echo is back. Wow. I
Yeah.
wonder if it went away when my Bluetooth connected.
Hmm. I can hear feedback when I talk. Now I can't hear it. Now it's okay.
All right. Um, Tell me if it's up now. Now that these
So
headphones are in.
I don't hear any feedback this time. So maybe that, yeah, it sounds pretty good to me on my end because I was hearing feedback, but now I don't hear it. So
Okay. All right.
so I'll let you.
One more time for the one time. It's probably Menelec.
Well, I don't. So far, it's pretty good, Master Menelik. I don't hear the feedback from my end.
They say it's gone now, so it must have been from my device. I don't know if it was up too loud and it was echoing. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
But it's fine now. It should be fine now. We should be good. We should be
Yeah.
definitely good now.
Maybe I'm the feds.
Yeah. I just can't read the what is that? The
The
chat.
chat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you. I'll make sure everything is up on screen too.
Okay.
Give thanks for everyone being so patient. And yeah, how was everyone strong? How's everyone doing? Everybody's in here nice and early. Hopefully your strong went well. Hopefully your day went well, and you're ready to go. All right. Yeah, gracias. Let's get it. But yeah, man, we had a good strong. We started out, well, we had the softest last strong,
Mm-hmm.
and they were building on what's moving through you. And they were building on just some of the things that you may have internally that, like, of course the creator is flowing through you, the spirit is flowing through you, but sometimes you have some things inside of you that are like you're clinging to them even though they're there as like blockages, you know or they're there as like debris,
Mm-hmm.
and it's disrupting that flow, right? Or your willingness to tune into that flow. And of course, Chief came in and dropped a lot of gems, on that flow from the creator and the modeling that we have as men, and that women have as our help me, and
Mm-hmm.
their responsibility to cover and protect our side and our internals and our emotions, just as we cover them on other fronts, and us having different roles, but those roles complementing. So yeah, man, that's good. That's good. Aki Isaiah, say strong was good. Peace on the radio. Yeah, and then we had Aki Zach, of course, come with the
Mm-hmm.
fire on our first date. Always coming with the fire, and he was building on just having an unconditional love affair, with what it is that you're doing and being totally committed to your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on from that, we had Aki El Karar coming through, bringing us the Art of War, even the Klingon Art of War.
Right. Or
You
Strategy
know,
of War, part two.
right, right. And just she was building on a lot of different things. One of the pieces that I caught was just making sure that your army and your troops and your forces are adequately deployed, right? You don't keep them out in the field for too long to where they're raggedy and they're tired. You know, you're eventually gonna start losing battles if you don't take the time to stop and replenish. That was one of the things that I got from it because you have that was known as a battle of attrition
Mm-hmm.
where you could just wait your enemy out if you have them tired enough. You know, if you know that they've been in the field for a long time, they've been trying to attack you for a long time,
Right.
and the men are tired, the supplies are low. All I gotta do is wait y'all out. You know, we fresh, we home. Y'all trying to invade us. You know, so just making sure that you can keep your forces in check and balance. And that's kind of what we're talking about tonight, right? Of the
Mm-hmm.
mind heart balance. Um, I think this one was a topic that we both decided on based on what the previous two topics were. We're talking about having a heart that is basically oriented towards the creator, and then walking in rhythm with your mate.
Mm-hmm.
And now, in order to move forward, because we're just building on victory in general and the benefits of having righteous culture. Now you got to make sure your mind and your heart are in balance. And sometimes we don't do enough checks in on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to that segment that she did on when you can't love yourself. And some of the ways that we try to, we fake ourselves out. We tell ourselves that we love ourselves because we're trying to pamper ourselves, or we do stuff for ourselves. Like I'll treat myself to a milkshake today,
Right.
or one of the examples he used was like taking a bubble bath with music, but you don't necessarily go in and say, what's really bothering me, or what's hurting me, or what's the thing that I can do to heal myself um, from what it is that's bothering, what it is that's really holding me back in life, or what's tripping me up, and what can I stop to sit with and actually give it the time that it needs to unfurl. And you brought this up I think it was last night when you and I were building about how it's very important to be wary of the thoughts that you have or the
Mm-hmm.
thoughts that you allow to occupy your mind space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because if you don't have that moment where you can build and create that, and again on a daily basis, it can disrupt everything for you. And actually that's the problem with most people struggle with that. um we're bombarded with so many different types of, if it's gadgets. It's funny about the cell phones. Everybody is distracted with some type of device or so, and so we lose insight of the simplicity of life. And even with that, it's funny, even with that alone, you take someone's cell phone away, guess what? Their mind, body, and balance, is off because they can't live without it. Okay. But then when you strive at, um, like you said, our topic is the mind, heart, and balance. There comes in a moment where you have to at least create that moment for yourself. And for me, I can't live any other way. This is something that I strive for on a daily basis. This is something you can't really take a moment off of it, because why? Each day we live, we're always bombarded with something, distractions, bombarded with all kinds of outer chatter, all kinds of things. And it's amazing when I watch people, because I even when I'm out of my day, I watch people. And it's funny, if you're driving or whatever it is, how people can easily be distracted. So if you don't have this sense of balance, if you don't work that out, and then you that's where the chaos comes in. That's where the imbalance
Mm-hmm.
comes in. That's when your inner world is totally disrupted because your outer world controls the inner world, and and so that is very important. That is very, very important. So
So
those definitely go.
would you say that when you take someone's phone away, their mind like and they start going haywire, would you say that them not having their phone is what causes them to go haywire, or
Oh,
them having the phone is distracting themselves from the fact that they're already imbalanced?
just tell someone, can you live without your phone? Let's say, can you live without your phone for a day? That's too much. If you went and said, okay, what about, let's break it down. Can you live without your phone for a couple of hours? If you ask most, I've done it. I've asked certain people, they cannot do it. They cannot. It's like, no, no, no. My phone's got. I'm like, but really? Do you really need your phone? And I watch how people interact. So yeah, that can add to imbalance. Because why? We're distracted. Your phone becomes your thought, and it's like, oh my God, I can't be. I It's funny because when I meditate or so, I love watching people, and it's amazing how someone can walk down the street and you're on your gadget. You're walking down the street and you're not paying attention to anything else. I've seen people almost got hit. I've seen people
Right.
get. It's like, wow, but they can't. It's like, can you just put it down for? No, it's like that's impossible. But that's because you program yourself that way.
Mm.
So yeah, to add to that, yeah, it does add an imbalance.
Wow. Okay. So how do you start to pull people away from that? Because you're saying now they have this dependence on the phone. They're not truly dependent on the phone. They won't die if you take it away. But it's just this thing of, well, I don't know what to do now. I don't know what to do with my hands. Or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like if you're checking too many things, sometimes you might get that empty fridge syndrome. Like sometimes you ain't doing too good. Ain't nothing in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be doing some shopping, but you ain't doing no shopping. Ain't
Mm-hmm.
nothing in the fridge right now. And you check the fridge like 6 or 7 times already,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's like you do these things unconsciously now. And your mind is like, okay, this is where I get my dopamine from, so let me just pick it up. There's nothing on the phone. No one reached out to you, you know. So you go looking out for different types of stimulation, and you don't realize that you already have a lot going on internally, but you're getting all of your input and you're getting all your directions from what's going on in your phone or what kind of information is coming in. And you kind of distort your balance with yourself that way. Because everything that's coming in or everything that you think about or allow yourself to think about is external. It's external based. So your thoughts, which which already are creating spirits, like Chief
Mm-hmm.
had said in Mind Art Words, thoughts create spirits and spirits create thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts are coming from another culture, one, but they're coming rapid fire,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just scrolling through. So all of this chatter and all of this data is going through your head, but none of it is really connecting you to your creator or to your purpose. And you find it hard to center yourself when you put that down. It takes so long to unwind because you're so used to just getting input all day, input. So you get like jittery, you know, you're
Mm-hmm.
overstimulated.
Mm-hmm. And as I'm listening to you when you were sharing, I remember I was listening to Chief. He did on episode 6 of The Power of Silence, and
Hmm.
wow, Chief is always dropping something, and it's something you can utilize to add to your uh to your my collection. I call it my collection of things of learning and what to apply. And what I appreciated what he was breaking down was like quiet. It's funny because one of the things, like as we were talking yesterday, and breaking up of what I do, how do I start my day, and what is it to do to continue to have that mind, heart, and balance. There's certain things I have to apply on a daily basis, and one of them, like I said, is silence. And it's funny because there are times when I start, like I said, I start my day. The first thing I do is in silence. So of course, once I leave my home, and I'm out about my starting my day, that's when it's so funny. The outer chatter starts from others, and so that's why I have the earphones. And so to drown out the outer noise. And so what Chief was mentioning in that podcast is he was explaining about quiet and silence. Okay. He was saying about quiet. Quiet is just a lowered volume. Okay. Silence is when we're undisturbed and have removed internal and external chatter starting from the outside. And this goes back to the cell phone because people, it's funny. Most people really, they silence is like taboo to most people. If you ask them, they cannot sit alone or silence without no distraction. It's like they got to have something going on. And it's amazing because, like I said, I start my day so early, and I was asking myself, I always talk within myself, about people. I'm like, you ever been out somewhere and you're like, what? No, she did not have that on herself. So anyhow, this gentleman was getting on the bus, and it's 4:00 in the morning. I'm like, who the hell you could be talking to this early in the morning? I'm saying to myself, of course, and he can't hear it. But I'm like, so now I got my earphones on because I'm ready. But it's like, you can't even put that aside and just enjoy the ride. I love riding public transportation. That's one of my favorite things. Why? I just enjoy the ride. Train, bus. I just enjoy it. And then secondly, it keeps me from being distracted because then when you're driving, you can't really, your mind's going to come away from what you're trying to do. Okay. Even though I can still apply some silence while driving, but I'm always going to be distracted because why? Your mind is always focused on something. So meanwhile, that silent part is where I just love sitting back and enjoying and just watching. And this is part of my movement. And so the silent part, silent part of my day is so important. I love it. Why? Because it keeps me to disconnect from the inner world, outer world. And it helps me it's like that silent, the inner listening, but in silence. Like, Chief was breaking it down in the episode of Power of Silence, is when you're listening to the Most High, you have to be able to, if you don't apply the silence, but also when he was mentioning about quiet, there's a difference in it. And it's funny because I never really thought about it until Chief brought it up. It's like, wow, there's a difference between quietness and silence. And I'm still meditating on that. I'm like, I ain't got it all down packed, but just the very fact of, he was using an example of, say if you were on a mountain, and it's funny because when he used an example in the segment, he used an example. Say I love mountain climbing because he mentioned that. He mentioned an example. I love mountain climbing. And can you imagine? And I enjoy the area and the nature. So, but can you imagine while you're climbing a mountain, someone has a boombox. Well, most people don't realize they don't really have boom, but they got these speakers now because you don't have to have a boombox, but you have speakers, and they come in and they disturb what? Your quietness. Now you're in nature, so now you're saying to yourself, I'm like, really, dude? I was enjoying myself until you came along with this distracting music. It is not natural because you're talking about someone's booty call or whatever the heck you're saying, and now you have interrupted my quiet moment. So now, because you've been distracted, because you're the thought of the hiking, because I love long hikes, and you're just being in nature. So now, but in that moment, you can take it, and that's sometimes I'll do this too. I'm like, okay, I got distracted for a moment. Okay, let me get back to quietness. So then I know how to zone it out. So that helps me to, because sometimes if you allow it, yeah, it can allow it and disturb your whole moment. But no, sometimes just flow with it. I was like, okay, I hear it. But now I'm gonna flow back to this. And so when Chief was using it as an example, I can relate to it because it actually happened. It actually happened some years ago, and somebody else came, and I'm like, they were like, dude, really, y'all, you see all this scenery, and you can't, and y'all gonna bring. But the point, what I utilize is what that is, the silent part for me for the balance of the mind, the heart, and the brain balance. Silence has been incorporated into my daily movement. I cannot go a day without it.
Got you. Got you.
Okay.
Yes, it's very important for me too because I move around a lot and sometimes the things that I do are tightly packed, especially with balancing work and school and study and like other things like artwork and whatever I got going on. Because someone, my friend always tells me I'm always doing the most. But I need that quiet time, not just to decompress, but to allow all of that chatter to sort of die down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't necessarily try to suppress it or tune it out. I just I just I let it keep going until
Mm-hmm.
it runs out of steam,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps me to rebalance, but it also lets me know um, like there's only so much you can do in a day, and trying to get every single thing done as you possibly can without balancing out your time or
Mm-hmm.
balancing out the time you take to decompress. It has adverse effects over time. I
Right.
may be able to do that for like a couple of strongs, like a strong or two, but like the third one, it's like, all right, I'm getting tired. I'm not getting up on time. I hit snooze. I might walk out the door without like doing my movement. So I find myself like I might wind up doing push-ups at work or something like that, or I'm doing them in the evening. So everything starts to become less efficient and less effective because and less effective meaning not even meeting goals that you set
Mm-hmm.
because you can't do as much because you're so tired, you're
Mm-hmm.
so compressed, and if you take the time to slow down, you'd be surprised how much you can actually get done, and move into that metric. You can reset expectation. You take time to sit down before you move into the next task. Because I would do like um, classes during the day while I'm at work, and then coming home and I got an essay to do, and then as soon as I'm done with that, I might have a call to get on. As soon as I'm done with that, I know I got some homework to do again, and then as soon as I'm done with that, I got some studying to do for a test I got tomorrow, and then before I know it, it's 3 a.m. and I got like 2 hours of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
That can have you moving out of balance too. So your mind and your body have to be in sync,
Right.
right? If you set these expectations for yourself mentally, but you don't take time to look at what your body's capable of, or just be kind to yourself, because I wouldn't ask anyone else to do that.
Right.
I couldn't bring myself
Right.
to ask anyone else to do what I do on a daily basis. And sometimes I have to remember, like you gotta take it easy, slow down and recalibrate, reset, and get to your place of silence, or
Mm-hmm.
even with a playlist that Chief had offered to that Anu men. The first one in the playlist is to be able to find a place of peace,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I really like that video because he's in a quiet space. He's not rushing, not yelling at the camera. There's time to breathe and enjoy his place of peace with him. But the thing is, once you find that place of peace, you can take that peace along with you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Chief has often explained to us that peace is just being able to maintain your character in the midst of chaos. And once you're able to do that, you know, the external chatter doesn't bother you as much
Right.
because there's
Right.
not really internal chatter. It doesn't have to be chatter because you already know what's what.
Right.
Let me address the chat before it
Okay.
runs away
Yeah,
from
I can't
us,
see any.
like
Can't
it
see it
did
anymore.
last time. Right. Um, okay, Softer Ahava says, her strong was productive and challenging, but good. Okay, that's good. Our Yadaram says, this strong has presented me with future opportunities in commerce and also gave me key reminders why I should always be ready and vigilant in all aspects of life. All right. Um, Peace, Nadine Doc. Welcome to the space. Our Yadaram says, look for stimulation and then complain that the phone stimulates. Right. Um, Aki Alcaraz says that's the main reason I enjoy long train rides. Okay, he's talking about
Yep.
the public transportation.
Yeah.
Chief Yuya says, well, you do have a record of scraping against other cars when you drive out a route.
When I well, do I what now?
He says you have a record of scraping against other cars when you drive.
No, no, no. You know what's funny? I go down tight streets. Oh no, I don't wreck nothing, Chief. I'm very professional. And no, now I've been close. I'm like, oh, that especially those mirrors. But no, I'm really, I'm really careful. And no, I haven't got any accidents. I'm really good at it. So at driving, at
I
driving,
drive it. You're good at drive it. All right.
yes,
Make sure that's clear and specific.
yeah. I had to make sure I say that exactly. And it's funny because just like Chief just mentioned in the chat, you know, um, I take what I do is a sacred journey, and going back to balancing your mind in the silence. I understand the science of why people get in accidents is because again it starts with your mind. It starts, you know, I learned this from, I don't know if the judges said this some years ago, but no one gets up every day and they say, you know what, I'm going to get an accident. No, but it's interesting how one energy, someone from somewhere else, you know who they are, and you from one area, and then boom, how come that energy can collide? So because I was studying, that was always my mind. See, these are things that I go through in my mind when I sit in silence. And so what I learned to avoid that is, where's your frequency? Where is your vibration? If your vibration is practicing peace, silence, that's part of all of this what we're talking about. When you bring balance or so, and I love how Chief, when Chief did the command of days, okay? Chief doesn't do something just to be doing it. When he put the
I'm gonna
segment
just
command a
uh,
day,
I'm gonna just leave that there since we
okay,
can't see the chat.
okay. I see Chief said, I know you drive for a living now, so I will remind you of what you said at the retreat offline. Oh wow, I forgot. Yeah, whatever I said, I forgot what I said.
Mm,
And now, if you bring it back, I'll remember it. Yeah. So when he
mm.
said that, so you know what? I gotta let that sit because
It sounds like you pleading the fifth, Alvaro.
you know what? I don't know why I said it. So Chief's got records of all of us and whatever I said. So don't worry about it. It's gonna come back. And I'm like,
Mm,
oh, he was talking about this. Right now, I don't recollect. I don't remember what it was. So it'll come to me. It'll come to me. It
FIF.
went over my head. It did.
Mm,
It went over my head. But yeah, it'll have to come because yeah, I totally forgot what I said and how I said it. And that's usually I can remember, but I forget things sometimes. That's okay. you know. But meanwhile,
All right. It's
do you remember?
convenient memory.
Do you?
I wasn't there. I
Oh,
was not
oh, the
there.
summer. Okay, you're right. You weren't there in the summer. Okay, well,
I was
Chief,
there in the summer. I
don't
wasn't
worry
there in
about
the
it.
winter.
Chief's gonna remember, and I'm like, oh, you're right,
Uh-huh.
Chief. So it'll come back. But like I said, I can't
I get the
remember.
feeling you conjuring Akizakari now, so he's gonna pop up any second.
It's okay. It's okay. Hey, it happens. It's life. That's part of the journey. Yes, yes. Hey, I have blunders. Yes, it's okay. Yes, I have many of them. Yes, that's okay. That's part of the journey.
Hey,
It's okay.
sometimes I run over old ladies. It's okay.
Sometimes I
It's
want
part
to
of
run them
life.
over, but I'm like, I
Oh,
can't because
I can't
you're
get
gonna
in your
interrupt
bus.
my peace, and I don't want to go through all the channels and everything. No.
Yeah,
So
I'm not riding with you.
yeah, but
Yeah, I'm gonna plead the fifth.
yeah, yeah. Right now,
I
I
don't
can't
think the
remember that
fifth
part.
covers me.
Yeah, but no, I forgot my darn. I've lost my train of thought. But it's funny. We were just what she was putting in the chat. Um,
Hmm.
but
You were
no,
talking
it's
about how great of a driver you were.
huh?
You were talking about how great of a driver you were. You know, you take it seriously and you make sure that
Well, yeah,
because you
I
were
do
talking about
because
It's funny because when I was learning to drive, when I was studying the driver's test, they said there's no such thing as a car accident. They
right,
said there's car crashes, car collisions, but it's not an accident. It
right,
happened for a reason.
exactly. And most people don't understand that. So to keep that from happening, and this is why when I explain to people, if I keep my focus and again, command the day, that's what I was mentioning. Chief doesn't do something when he did the command the day series. He didn't just have it just for the sake of saying no. When he put it out there, command the day, what he was sharing was whatever the topic it was about. He was like, this the series is about, okay, you're going, you before you start your day, you're commanding it, you're calling it forth. And so what I take from that and from the segments Chief was doing is starting your day off fresh. It's a day, it's a moment. How do you start it off? How do you prepare yourself? How do you as you move in the strong, like we were talking about yesterday. What did I share with you last night? I said, you know what, I'm already, because I'm again preparing for this day. I said, you know what, I'm gonna make sure, regardless of the snowstorm, regardless of what's coming, I'm gonna prepare for it. I'm not gonna let it disrupt my day. And sure enough, I made sure, and I kept that in mind because of what Chief was using in the Command the Day series. So, but using that as example was, my day was easier because I was able to take some time and be in nature. Because again, I was preparing for our segment today and our fellowship. And so from that, and this is something I do every day when I can, but what I do is I love taking the time to get away. Okay. And El Corrado knows what I'm talking about. The conservatory, it's got beautiful plants and everything. Garfield Conservatory, he knows what I'm talking about. Well, I was able to spend some time there for a good 45 minutes, and that's when I met the little girl and everything. So the point is, that
Oh,
was
okay.
my moment where I can get away in nature and I can do my breathing or so, or if it's a quick nap. But those are those moments that I treasure. I treasure those sacred times. And so going back to what I was mentioning about accidents, is that those things happen because, again, if you're not commanding your moment, your movement, if you're not preparing your day, you can have we call hiccups. Okay. Yeah, West Side. Yes, exactly. It's on the West Side. He knows what it is. He knows what I'm. Yeah, because I spend most of my time on the West Side anyway. So I'm like, okay, that's one of my favorite places. I can hang out there when I can. But so meanwhile, what I do is, as I prepare my movement, again, being a professional driver, because I was reminded, and that's why I appreciate the training. Again, going back to, we'll talk about that too, about mind, heart, and balance. Is in order for me to do this task, whatever it is, I got to make sure I do it to the best of my ability. But also, driving there's hazards, there's noise, there's all kinds of stuff. I see it all. Okay, weather. The point is, how do I prepare myself before I start? So that's why early in the dawning, I in silence, and that's the first thing that I have to do. And that's the part that when I apply that. And so when I apply that silence and prepare my day, I'm I do my inspections, and I because I'm looking for these precious little ones. They're going to be they're going to be with me for maybe an hour or so, from picking them up from home to school. And that's the part of the moment where I'm able to appreciate. I love working with kids. That's also part of helping with my mind, heart, and balance. With the children are even a part of my journey, because I love hanging with children. I don't like hanging with adults much, but those children, wow, because they light up your day. They're when they don't lose that when they're little, if they haven't been corrupted by the world. Because there's some children I've seen that have been corrupted by the world, but when they're little, they still have that innocence. They still have that radiance of the Most High. And so that's why, as I'm thinking about that little girl, out of nowhere, she walked towards me. She's stumbling, and I was sitting, and then I noticed her, and now I'm focusing on her, and she's in wonderment because mom brought her into where these plants are. So now I'm interacting with her. She's seeing the color. She's touching them. One of the plants is wet. So now this is that moment, because now I'm taking that sacred time to be with that little girl, and and appreciating the moment, enjoying the moment. Now, starting my day off, I don't know how it's going to end out, but I do know it. Just enjoy the journey, like the train ride, the bus ride. So along the journey, little things come up. Whereas some people have accidents, I had little girls and my students that interacted my day and help me prepare for it, or as we say, command the day. Okay.
Right. You did say yesterday when we were speaking, I'm gonna be on time tomorrow, even though it's gonna be snowed out. You're gonna have a lot of snow on the road. I have to drive slow. I have to drive even more carefully, but I'm still gonna make it in time. You did show up on time. You know.
And that's what, like Chief said, just command your day. Command. Most people don't understand about when you put it out there of what it is you desire. We take that for granted. Okay. So now and we're talking about this during the night, during this fellowship talk about how do you prepare for your day? How do you prepare for your mind, your heart balance? And to bring with that, bring the full balance of you. Because remember, every day is a different day. So you're going to have different challenges. But the question is, I start my day regardless of the challenges I may face, or the chaos or the noise or whatever. I'm prepared for it.
Mhm.
I'm prepared, because during this past strong, it was a busy week. But regardless, I'm preparing for it. I can handle it. I can endure it. And just like today, I beat the storm. It was like, okay, there you go, beat the storm. Now I don't know what's going on while we're in fellowship, but it don't matter. Because why? I started a day, and I'm grateful for it. And that day helped me to prepare for this moment, but also to appreciate the journey of this day. And that's what keeps me going. Like you were saying earlier about being so active and busy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll be my workouts, because while I'm doing that, I'm working out and everything. But these are steps that I take to prepare myself for the journey, and enjoying the moment, enjoying every single moment, and not take that moment for granted, but utilize that moment.
Yeah, man, definitely for sure. GPS says you can speak quietly, but you can't speak silently. You can think quietly, but you can't think silently. Silence is the humility that comes from observation, seeing and not speaking like an infant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. And that even makes me think of how you can be out in nature, and like you were talking about with the example of being like on a mountain climber or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can be out in nature, but even if you don't have someone out there with a boombox, you still have all of this internal chatter,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not quietly. You're not observing, right?
Hmm.
And you're not really being humbled by the environment and being a part of the environment, you know. So that made me think of that. Like you can still have all of this in inner turmoil because we were speaking also about the subconscious last night as well.
Hmm.
You know, your subconscious could be serving up all kinds of turmoil because you never really dealt with it. You
Hmm.
know, being in that natural environment, it's an environment that helps you, right? Like you were talking about silencing the outside first, right? But if you silence the outside and you still refuse to acknowledge the inside, you may go out in nature and spend some time out there and come back home and be like, that did nothing for me.
Right.
I hate being in nature.
Right.
It's all quiet. You got all these trees, all these bugs. You know, look at the frogs, nasty frogs. You know, and you don't enjoy any of it. You know, you don't take it in because something inside of you is irritated and you refuse to acknowledge it. You know, it's like you see a mosquito on your arm and it's just filling up with all this blood, and you refuse to like at least shoo it away. You know, something is eating away at you and you refuse to acknowledge it because you know if you acknowledge it, now you've got to change.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. And it's funny you just said that because when my dad, they go camping a lot, and when I have my siblings go, they do exactly what you just shared. I'm like, listen, y'all are complaining about this moment. You don't even see the beauty of it. Oh, I can't the bugs. I'm like, really? Really? You're
Mhm.
missing the bigger point. That's why I'm like, y'all can't come with me. Because you're gonna complain about something, but you know why they do that? Because again, they like to be on that cell phone. They like that outer noise, that outer chatter. Because guess what? What's going on in their head is because I went through it. I remember I went through it some years ago where, you know, where my inner chatter was so loud, it was louder to the point where I could not control it, where I wasn't at peace. And then you have the challenges. And then I had to learn. I went through years ago martial arts techniques called Dan Hak. It's a Korean art form. And I appreciate that because that actually helped me a lot. It helped you to get the outer chatter, and then it's a martial arts form, but it's a Korean style where it was about mental. And
Mhm.
from that helped me a whole lot. So now I don't have that voice like, oh, why you like example, you can be in the moment, just stay in nature, but then guess what? Your inner voice like, you gotta get home. You gotta hurry up because the storm's coming. You know,
Mhm.
you got to wash. You got to do this. Oh, wait a minute. You got to hurry up because the bot's coming. So all that's playing in your head. And it's funny because when you start practicing that, I can pick up other people's thoughts. And it's like, oh my God, you are noisy. And I'm like, what do you mean? I can, oh, wow. Whoa, that's why you're having these issues. Because when you learn to silence your inner thoughts, and that goes back to practice of discipline, and because I had to learn how to reprogram my thinking, my brain. I remember when Chief was mentioning about the brain, where most people don't realize that your brain part of you represents that devil part, and if you're not careful, it'll get you into things all the time. And so what I learned from what he was bringing an example, if you don't control your inner thoughts or outer thoughts will control you. And that's where the problem comes in. What I notice with people, when they interact, they're so used to the noise. They're so used to the outer noise and the inner noise that they can't think quietly. They can't appreciate silence. They can't even appreciate being quiet. Because why? They never practice it, and they're comfortable in their chaotic mode, and
Mhm.
that also contributes to a lot of factors. Because when you're programmed and you reprogram, and You're not focusing. You're focusing. Oh, I gotta pay the rent. Oh my God, the car is gonna break down. But now you can't even think about solutions. You can't even think about. Your mind is not thinking about peace. It's thinking about, oh my God, I got all this stuff to do. And like Chief was mentioning in the chat, you can speak quietly, but you can't speak silently. And that is a statement all in itself, because that's where most people have a problem with. They do not, they're easily thrown off, easily, and they cannot even appreciate that sacred moment and what we're as we're sharing this.
Yeah, I think the problem that they have with it is that humility piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want to humble themselves to the moment or the reality of the moment,
Mm-hmm.
of everything that's comprising the moment. You know, because you have all of the external factors, sure, but you don't want to humble yourself to the internal factors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to humble yourself to the fact that life is going on. Um, it's not totally dependent on you. You know, some
Mm-hmm.
people are narcissists like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything that's happening in this room, or everything in this room is conspiring against me. You know, nah, it's something inside of you that's bothering you, and you don't want to address it. Like he had mentioned in that segment, why you can't love yourself. You know, you don't want to sit with your emotions, or you don't want to sit with your pain. You don't want to sit with your anger. Don't want to sit with whatever is, burdening your heart, or whatever is deeply lodged into your subconscious. You just want to maintain your egoic narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll blame something in your external. Like
Right.
you'll look at whatever's around you, and you start projecting what's going on inside of you onto the environment. Now all of a sudden, someone walks past and like, look at this dude wearing a blue shirt. Who do you think you are? Who does he think he is? Wearing plaid shoes. Who does he think he is? And you just start looking for stuff to latch onto because you want to react to something um, emotionally. You want to react to something irrationally because you think you want everything to be about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it comes from not having that balance. It comes from not having that peace because you have to maintain your identity in the moment, but you don't know what you are in that moment because there's something inside of you that you're refusing to look at.
Right.
So it's like you own a building, you own an apartment complex, but you don't have the key to every door.
Uh-huh.
So you don't know what's inside those doors, but you you want to claim that it's a room for rent. You don't know what's inside the room. So
Mm-hmm.
how can you invite someone else to rent out the room or live in that space? If you don't know what's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, well, tell me about some of the features. Well, it's got a door, but that's all you got. That's as far as you got. You don't know if it's got beds. You don't know if it's got roaches, rats. You don't know if it's got a refrigerator. Nothing.
Right.
It has a door. You know, that'd be $500.
And
It
it's funny.
is.
It's funny because like Aki Zak did when he did his segment Unconditional Love Affair. And it's amazing how most people don't know their purpose.
Hmm.
This 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 is this assists me. Wow. When you don't know your purpose, and as you're moving in the movement of your day. Oh, sorry, that's Siri on my watch. Sorry about that. It's funny how technology does stuff. But anyhow, that also contributes to I thought about like they're sharing about reprogramming your brain and controlling your thoughts. Because if you don't control your thoughts, you can't control your actions. And so most people are reactionary
Hmm.
because now this ties into who you are. If you don't control your thoughts, those thoughts can also go into your actions, and actually it will create it. And that's how, like you were saying about humbling yourself. You When you don't take the moment and just sit with it,
Hmm.
okay? And what helped me even as a leader when I'm wrong, no, I'm wrong. I messed up,
Hmm.
okay? And that is because I shared this with a friend one time. Well, he ain't a friend no more because he don't like me. Well, I don't care because I realized what the issue was. He wanted to be the smartest one in the room, and I said
Hmm.
I do the opposite. I am not the smartest one in the room. I love being around people smarter than me.
Hmm.
Interesting enough, that's like with a lot of people. Because if you're the smartest one in the room and you're dumb, wow, that's. And I actually told someone that. Well, guess what? You now you just broke it down for me. But
Right.
then you're not humbling yourself. That means you can't learn something because you don't. It's not. It's a. You can't learn everything, but you can if you humble yourself and allow it.
Hmm.
I learn something every day. Every day. That little girl. Funny thing about children with vibration. This is what I learned from her. If I was not safe, she would not have came towards me. Now, she didn't know me. And the same thing with my children. If there's something imbalanced in me, if there's something that is out of whack, guess what? One thing about children, they will notice that. If they still have the innocence still of the most high in them, which for the most part they do. There's some I met. But the point is,
Some you met what?
wait, say it again.
I said some you met what?
Some I met that they were corrupted. And
Right.
so now the most
I
high
know
is
some
not
rude
there
children.
because they're a reflection of the people whoever corrupted them. I've seen
Mm.
that. Thank God that the children that I'm around, I don't have that issue. Well, no, take it back. I can't say that. I do have it with one of my students, but she's the one that's the most challenging one. But I learned to resonate with her because I work with special needs students. I love it.
Mm.
Wow. This goes back to the balance. Special needs students are unique. This is my first time working with them on a closely basis that I've ever done. And what I'm learning since August, no, September. I'm sorry, September. When you work with people, and this is going back to the mind and balance. When you work with people and you meet them for the first time, if you're off, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. So the interesting thing about it, I got a route that none of the drivers want because of the students, one particular student. Now, by me one thing I chose, and again, going about command today, I commanded that regardless of when I found out that other drivers were afraid of working with her because she has episodes. She
Mm.
bites, she does things or so. But that doesn't scare me because why? That's just a moment. She doesn't do it all the time. But the problem is those drivers or those people did not take the time to resonate with her. Stop focusing on the problem, but look at her as a person. Can you appreciate, going back to humble, can you appreciate someone different than you and can you resonate with them? So with her, since I've had her, she's had some issues. Yeah, like I shared with you, was it this week?
No, it
Yeah,
was last night. That was last night.
that was last week.
That was last night. You spoke about it last strong,
Yeah,
but it
well,
was
no, it
last
was
night
this
you
week.
spoke
It
about
was
it
this
too.
week. She had an episode, and my monitor, I have a monitor that rides with me to keep the students, make sure, and I had to pull over, and because I interact with people and from my past experiences, so she had an episode, and it she had she had a she had an emergency. She had a bowel movement.
Mhm.
So she took her clothes off and everything. This is some of the things that she does. So I told my monitor, don't worry about it. I'll deal with it. So the mom's a sweetheart. Um, because this young lady, she's 14 by the way. This young lady, I look at Yah in her. I don't look at this person that's got special needs. I look at this as a person that's unique. So now I'm taking my time. Now, if I command my day and I do my silence or so now what I do is I pour it into what I do in my job. So meanwhile, what I explain to the my monitor that says, "Don't worry about it. You know, everything's messed up. Don't worry. We're not gonna." So what I'm gonna do is when I pull up to the mom, I now the other kids are scared. I'm taking control of the situation. So meanwhile, I poured up to the mom and I said, "Mom, could you do me a favor? Could you go get a towel or a sheet? Because I don't want her to go out. Her bottom she's exposed. So I'm not gonna let her leave the bus being exposed. So mom's upset because she's like, oh my God. I said, don't worry about it. Mom, I'm gonna take care of it. Don't worry about it. I don't want you to worry. Because mom, I guess before I came on this route, the drivers were complaining and they want to get her off and everything. And I'm like, no. I looked at it differently. I said, you know what? You guys treat her with respect and in your vibration. So I already know what it is. Their vibration is off. Because why? They complain. Going back to you were saying about the noise.
Mm-hmm.
If I focus on that noise, if I focus on that problem and not focus on the solutions and what am I applying to this moment? So what I did was I shared with mom that, Mom, don't worry about it. We're going to deal with it. And I'm not going nowhere. My point is I'm going to deal with her. Okay. So we got her off and my monitor started, you know, she almost threw up and everything. I'm like, okay, you know, I had to pull over and say, are you okay? And everything. So now I contained the situation. So the point is I explained to mom. So the mom, I saw her today. I picked her up today. Mom was crying this morning. She said, I love you guys. You guys are so sweet. You don't complain. You like, I said, Mom, we love you too. And don't worry about her. She's my student. I'm going to make sure. Because why? I'm substituting myself from that parent and that teacher from school to home. And what I took into this moment is appreciating the part of when I do my work, it's a sacred duty. It's an honor. I'm serving these youths. And sometimes we forget the simplicity of life. So in other words, my student was quiet today. Command today. She was quiet. No problem. Because I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad this didn't happen on a Friday. I'm like, oh my God. Because again, going back to what I'm going, I'm like, I got to get home. I got to get home. Master Mental, like everybody's waiting for me. But guess what? It didn't happen. Why? Because, and then by the way, I had to clean the bus. Because, you know, that's part of life. It's part of life. It's okay. So mom, this morning, she was crying. I said, Mom, we love you. Don't worry about it. She said, I go through so many things. I said, Mom, don't worry about it. So I'm going to work with mom. But my point is, most drivers would have complained. They want to get her off the bus and then nobody wants to deal with her. The problem is, no, hell no. Damn it. Treat her like it's your daughter with special needs. How would you do it if you had a special needs daughter or a son or child or an adult? Treat them with respect and all my students, I treat them with respect and I love seeing them every day and I greet them every day when they're getting on, when they're getting off. The point is, now, why am I saying all this? This is a part of the journey that I take on a daily basis. Even though my day starts early, this is what drives me. This is what motivates me. Because why? These sacred beings are in my care to get them to point A to B in a safely manner. But at the same time, I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about service to them and keeping the environment peaceful, keeping the environment safe, keeping the environment, regardless of the chatter, regardless of the noise, regardless of the situation, handle it with care and simplicity. And that's the part that I enjoy the most. And every day is a different day. Even though this week was a challenging week, it didn't matter. I dealt with it. The point is, deal with it. That's life.
Right.
But my point is, I didn't lose my sense of focus and I didn't lose my sense of peace. I didn't lose my sense of, because why? I was already preparing for it. And that's another reason why early in the dawning, I have silence and quiet is because what I'm doing in my mind is I'm preparing myself for whatever I have to go through. I don't know what I'm going to go through yet, but I do know one thing. I'm going to deal with it, whatever it is, but I want to be at a peace of mind. Do I have moments myself? Heck to the hell yeah. But I'm not saying I'm perfect too, but I also go back and I'm like, you know what? Abu, what would you have done differently? Because, you know, I hear two people, Chief, I hear Chief in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
How would you see? That's another thing. I'm blessed to be able to take the moment, and I can the outer chatter. I'll hear Chiefs in a silent tone, or Aki Zach, or Master Menelik. I may hear you. The point is, I'll hear you speaking, and it's like, okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, a silent tone or a quiet tone?
So, what now?
In a silent tone or a quiet tone?
Quiet tone.
Right. One of the other things that you did tell me last night, um, we were speaking about how nobody wanted the route,
Mm-hmm.
and not a lot of the youth didn't show up either.
Yeah.
Until you started driving the route, but you greeted them every day, and the first person they saw every day besides their parents was someone who wanted to see them as well. So they got a greeting, how you doing? You greeted them by name, and that's another thing to helping them to start their day off right. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
someone grumbling or come on now, y'all hurry up, get on the bus. Take your seats. No pushing, no shit. It's none of that. It's like, how you doing?
Right.
Hi, so and so. How's you doing? How was your day? Did
Right.
you have fun? You gonna have fun in school today? And they get to go to the seat, and they're actually excited about school today. They didn't have any abrasive energy greet them because the atmosphere of the bus, he was talking about atmosphere last night too. The atmosphere that you maintain around you is peaceful,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And even going back to your monitor, she was like how did she respond to the whole situation? Because she saw that you didn't lose your cool.
She appreciated it because I took a situation and like, okay, I can handle this. Don't worry about it. Well, we got. I said, no, we're not gonna put. You're not gonna be able to. No, don't worry about it. As soon as I arrive, Mom, I'm gonna let Mom. First thing I want to do is I'm calming the bus because while she had that issue, she was throwing her shoe. She was having an episode, and then it startled the other students. So I had to calm them. I said, don't. You know, I'm gonna protect you. Come on now, I got this. Don't worry about it. So I said, well, as soon as I pulled up, Mom, because now I had to calm Mom down because Mom starts crying.
Hmm.
Mom, don't worry about it. Mom, could you go in the house real quick? Now, mind you, I got cars backed up. I don't care about them. I got a
Hmm.
situation. These are my babies. Mom, can you go get a towel? I actually said a sheet. Can you go get a sheet? She said, oh, I can't find. Don't worry, Mom, don't worry about it. Whatever you can find, bring it up because we're gonna cover her up. And I said, Mom, when you come out, come on the bus. That'll We got her off, no problem. She was covered. She was not ashamed. She's not shamed. I made sure that she was taken care of. And I said, Mom, that's okay. But also with my monitor, she appreciates because she watches me interact with each and every one of them. Also, the parents. The first thing they said to me, their driver's always late.
Hmm.
They appreciate it. Say, you know what, parents, I'm reading them because the parents are there greeting with their child.
Hmm.
And they're like, wow, you are amazing. It could be bad weather, whatever, you're on time. And they appreciate it. So, of course, why? I was listening. What do they want? They wanted someone dependable, they can trust. Because I saw how they hugged their child and everything. I'm like, oh, and I have my little ones too. And so I look at those precious sacred moments. And so, again, how do I prepare my day? Okay. The hardest part is that 4 hour drive. It, but I don't worry about all that. It just the point is I got a duty to do, and that is to serve these young people. And that is part of my joy, my greatest joy of excitement, regardless of the challenge. So the other drivers, they didn't take the route because they realized they couldn't handle the problem, which I get it. I get it. One, you didn't interact with the youth. Secondly, you're not utilizing the time with the parents, connecting with the parents of the youth, and you don't recognize them as sacred beings. You're looking at them as a problem. I refuse to look at none of my students as a problem. Do you know I have no problems when they're picking them up or dropping them off? None of the
Hmm.
parents. Well, I hear drivers will say, "Oh, the parents are not here. Where do you want me to do? Take them back to school." I hear this chatter on the radio. Come on, chatter radio, and it's like
Right.
annoying. I'm like, wow, can y'all go through this every day? She won't sit down. Wow, you're the driver. You are the responsible being on that. What's wrong? Now, can things happen? Yes.
So they're
But
on
it's
the
like, work
radio,
it out.
like the children can't hear them complaining about them.
Or the children don't know. If the children know that you don't like them, they pick that up.
Right.
And that's going back to the mind, our topic, mind,
Hmm.
heart, and balance. Because if you don't have balance, you're going to have these problems and you're not going to have a solution to resolve them.
Right. Right. You can't even like you can't even respond like people say respond with ability,
Mm-hmm.
right? Responsibility. You can't respond that way if your child is so negative because like you were saying about how they see the children, your subconscious is already programmed to see these children as a problem.
Right.
So no matter what they do, you have a complaint.
Mm-hmm.
They won't sit down. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
You know,
Yeah, man.
so
That's a powerful share in terms of dealing with children with special needs and giving them the attention that they actually need and the
exactly.
respect. You're not treating them like, oh, here come these headaches. I
Right.
know they're not gonna listen to me. I know they're not gonna do what I say. I know they're gonna do something strange. It's like, I are they um you acting like you got a car full of dogs, a bus full of dogs.
And the thing is, they're all unique beings. Each and every one. I got 7 of them because it's funny. They added 2 to my route. I started out with I started out with 6. I have now 8, and it's like, oh my god, I'm all. But it didn't matter. The point is that whatever they, each and every one of them are unique. And if they're not there, I talk to the parent. I was like, oh, I missed him. He was gone for a week. It's okay, or 2 weeks. And I'm like, I care.
Hmm.
But this is about appreciating what you do. And by the way, what I'm doing is not about the money.
Hmm.
Because that's another thing that I was going to put in. What do you do? You got to do something you love to do. I love working with kids. I've been in leadership over adults for 20 some years. Oh my God.
I can hear the difference.
Now, those children, I love it. Because I've been asked by the company, say, oh, we see, no. I don't want to be in charge of the terminal. No, heck, no. Adults, see, when you become adult, now you lose all your innocence. You lose all, not most of them. Most of them. Most of them are, no, that's why I am the way. I'm like, let me just help these kids. Because why? That keeps my sanity.
Hmm.
Those children help me with my sanity. Why? I love how the scripture says it. To be in the world, but not of it.
Hmm.
Okay? This helps me with my sanity. Why? Because Chicago's crazy as hell. Now, Chief's from New York. He knows. Chicago, New York, they're crazy. These people are crazy. Yes. So now I have to how do I move in a crazy world where everybody don't care about nobody but themselves? And how do I move? How can I move on purpose? Going back to what Zach said, how can I move without on command? How can I move in an environment? Because it's funny because everybody's like, when I'm always out, and they're like, "Whoa, be careful! You know this. You gotta be careful. They shooting." I'm like, "They ain't shooting me. They ain't shooting me." One, because I already know the Most High is protecting me. That's one. I get that a lot. You gotta be careful. Man, they be shooting over there. Yeah, they shooting at them over there. But
Hmm.
they're not shooting at me because when you walk with a sense of purpose, when you walk with a sense of dignity, when you walk with a sense of the command, but not only that, the confidence of the Most High, because I know my purpose, I don't
Hmm.
fear. And so, yes, yes, being in Chicago, yes. But I don't, that's not my focus. My focus is not all on that negative stuff. That's another thing. I'm very mindful as I'm in my movement that I don't allow the negativity to filter in and disrupt my movement. That is very key to
Hmm.
the balancing is very key, because we can lose it in an instant.
Yeah, yeah, and it takes like 1 second of being irresponsible, especially if you're speaking. One irresponsible word could just ruin something. You could scar someone. Especially if you're working around children.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd be surprised, um, not just what they hear, but what they remember. You'd be surprised at what things deeply affect them. But um, how could you know what kind of mind your child has, or kind of emotional distress you could be causing if you have
Mm-hmm.
all of this internal chatter?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with people on a regular basis, but you're not dealing with yourself.
Right.
And that was one of the other things that Chief had said in that segment. Like, people try to ignore what's going on internally. Like, you try to be nice to people outside of you, or you try to exert external kindness, but you're not kind to yourself.
Right.
Or you have a very condemning and derisive voice, like something that's always saying, "Why did you do it like that?" Or "You're not good enough to do that," or "Why didn't you tell him off?" You should have told him off. But you don't have that with people outside of you. You can give them consideration, but you don't deal with that part of yourself that's never it's never got anything nice to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to allow you to accept the fact that you just did something well. You just achieved something,
Right.
you know, and you've internalized it from the environment
Mm-hmm.
that you had around you when you were younger, or from this constant influx of information. And because you're so used to taking all of your cues externally, from external sources, you don't know which one to listen to anymore,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, man, and that can set you in balance as well, because if you're always worried about what's going on externally, there's an external agenda for your mind.
Right.
There's a war for your mind,
Right.
right? So it's a scary thing um, when you can only take your input from the external sources, but the external sources are trying to infiltrate your mind.
Right.
And they can only do it though through Chief had mentioned this in that segment on deliverance. They can only do it through the body. I'll get you emotionally upset or worked up.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can get to your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
I'm gonna catch
Go in
up
the
with the
chat.
chat. Yeah,
Got
yeah,
you.
yeah. Akilo. Oh, this was a little while ago. Don't be near a swamp. You're talking about complaining about the bugs in nature.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they complain about
Yeah.
that too.
Aki Vermont says, Shabbat Shalom, peace, brother. Everyone, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This conversation reminds me of Chief's segment on Libra imbalance when he
Mm.
speaks of everything we connect ourselves to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, man. I'm not sure in relation to what comment that was, but it still relates to what we were talking about, right?
Right.
We're talking about our external environments and the things we plug into, especially with the phones and everything.
Right.
Yeah. Sister Yaffe says, just on the attack for everything and everyone. I think she was talking about people who lash out. You
Right.
know, you don't want to deal with your internal problems, so you just lash out at people.
Mm-hmm.
Chief says, special needs people have a lot to teach you before they have a lot to teach you before you have to listen more than you speak, um, to be able to work together.
Exactly. That's a key thing, because they don't most of them don't speak.
Mm,
And so how am I able to relate to them if they don't speak? They'll make noises, so it doesn't matter. How can you, if someone, because some of the students we've had where, let's say for instance, someone's sign language, because one day I want to learn sign language,
mm,
but now there's no sign language. There is no it's silence. It's silence. It's quiet. There's just moving with your hands. But the point is, that's a communication. Okay. And so, like Chief said, how do you relate to these young people, especially if they don't speak? But go ahead. I'm sorry. You were reading the chat. The chat.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Because I was just wondering when you were saying it, what language do they think it?
Well, I can tell you this. Some of them, my children, are Spanish speaking, so I can command. I had to literally communicate. I know some Spanish, so it's funny because my monitor, like, what, like the moms. Sometimes the moms, some of them don't know. They don't have their English is broken up. It's so funny
Right.
today. The mom, the mom was saying something, and I was telling the monitor. She was like, "What? No, no, no. That's not what she was saying. She was saying this in Spanish, and that's what it was. So I had to break it down. I had to interpret it for her. So, but yeah, the thing is, so a lot of these students are Spanish speaking, and so now, how do you communicate with them? But most of them do not speak. I only have one that really speaks. The rest
Mm,
of them do not speak. Out of the 8, only one speaks.
wow. So do they interact with each other? Like they got friend groups or
Uh, no, I have to separate them. 3 of them I have to separate because they're very. This is the thing I learned about my students. They react to noise. Noise is one. I placed them on the bus in a certain because one of my students, he sits right behind me. I love him though. Um, because I'm not gonna as a protection their names because they're little ones.
Mm,
He don't like a lot of noise. So the other one makes clapping, does a lot of noise clapping. So I had to move him back behind because it irritates the one behind me. And so I'm like, so I told the monitor, I was like, So now because I'm picking up each and every one of their personalities, and also I pick up how they how they um how they communicate. So my one that I sit behind me, he he just recently got attached to me. I was like, come on, he like I found out with him. Dad tells me he stays up all night, and when he gets on, he's cranky. He's very cranky. So now
mm,
I'm like, okay, come on, Vete, come on. So I'll tell him, so he's on. Now he's attached to me. But do you know, for many months, my monitor, he would not come to me because he had to get used to me. He had to get used to it. That's all it is. I wasn't offended or anything. Now he comes me to board in my monitor now because, like, I'm like, come on. I pick him up, and my monitor was telling Dad, man, he's feeling good. His dad dresses him. I know his dad spoils him. I said, wow. But my
mm.
point is, I get to know each and every one of them, what they do and what they like. And
Wow.
so you have to know, you have to pick up on that. Now, mind you, they don't speak. Now they go by, they'll listen. One thing I know, because I have 2 of them that they bite, snap, hit, kick. I noticed 2 of them flinch when I moved 2 of them, so I had to separate those 2 to the back because when I bring the one that I told you that the none drivers one, every time she walks by my one, he flinches. So I know because I've seen her do it. I've seen her hit him, throw her book bag, throw her doll. She's got a doll that's wild. You know those old dolls got the hard head. Oh God, I got hit by it. So I'm like whoa. And she's quick. She's like I call her a kung fu master. She's like Viper from it's so funny, but I think of Kung Fu Panda. She
Oh,
can kick. She's a fighter. She's like it's like getting hit. I got hit by her one time. It was like getting hit by Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. And I'm like, wow. But again, so I get why people don't. But you got to learn to relate to them. So now, when I agree with them, each and again, they don't talk. So now I watch how they move, and that's how I work with them. I know what they do, and so when I speak with them, I'm talking. Now, if they get out of line, like, hey, I'll just do that because I have to make sure they can. That's all I have to do. I don't have to really do anything major, but you just, you
right.
just, just,
You
just
can't
relate
be
to them,
rigid.
huh?
You can't be rigid when you're dealing with them. Like you can't
Well,
have like a singular train of thought or
right.
a single way of dealing with things. Like I think I think I heard it from Charlie Munger, is Warren Buffett's partner, right? And he would call it the man with the hammer syndrome. And he says to a man with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Mm-hmm.
So he like people who deal with things one way, and if it doesn't, if a problem, if they're a fiery person and a problem doesn't come to them through a fiery window, they're upset.
Right. Right. Right.
You know,
Exactly.
I want to be fire. Yeah, I'm fire. That's all I am.
Right.
You know, but that's not all that there is to you. But that's all you're looking to give because that's the only part of you that you're willing to tap into, or the only
Mhm.
part of you that you're comfortable with expressing.
Well,
You know, that's
you know what prepared me, and
mm,
again, this is the humble part that I give thanks to the Most High.
right.
Being 20 years of working with adults, special needs adults, huh? And I did call them special needs with multiple personalities.
Mm,
That's if it wasn't for my training of 20 years dealing with Chief knows some of us in our new got multiple personalities, and
mm,
especially the ones outside of our new got what multiple personalities. So you got maybe one person may have 15 personalities. So you got to figure out which one of those personalities you're dealing with that day.
mm-hmm,
That was the hardest part to dealing with people. So now I went through that in the corporate world dealing with that, and that was the most burdensome, challenging part they had to deal with. But now working with my special needs students, it's easier because they're not doing it on purpose. It's not personal.
mm,
This is a lot of it is because, like the one student I mentioned, she's got a lot going on, and wow, when you find out the history, and mom is breaking down stuff, and I'm like, whoa, personal stuff that she would never told nobody.
right.
So now you're getting this information, and it's like your heart pours out because what can I do to help? So that's the thing. What can I do to help now? So now I noticed with the one that I'm talking about that she's the most challenged. When she acts up, I elevate my voice a little high, not enough to scare her, but enough to know, not today. Or I'll pull over to the side. I'm like, what's on? What's up? What's going on? She responds.
Mm,
Now, I just found out last week she curses,
mm.
and I'm like, I thought it was the recorder. I'm like, is that what I'm hearing?
Oh,
They're like, no, that's her back there. But again, whoo. So the monitor, you know what? My monitor, I really give thanks. She's a mom. She
mm,
understands because she's a mother. I couldn't do my job without her. Okay. It would be extremely difficult to drive and as well. And again, I can't, it's to the point now, I can't have just any monitor because I've had monitors. I'm like, you can't come here no more.
right.
You
You did
scaring my
tell me.
kids.
You told me
Huh?
there was a student monitor before, and she couldn't handle a girl.
Exactly. She got punched in the face.
Hmm.
She got hit by my student,
Right.
and I had to restrain her, and I had to hold her because they have restraints, and so I had to, and she didn't know she was bleeding. I'm like, oh my gosh, we were still at the school, so I had to really calm her down. That's the first time she had her first episode, and I had to calm her
Hmm.
down. And I'm like, and what happened was I held her, and this was like wow. This happened a couple weeks ago, and what happened? The reason I was able to help her out, she, because she, again, fiery. When you're fiery, so now it's like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hold you. You're fighting. She's fighting. I had a workout. You ain't gonna. I'm ready for this. Did you know I had to
Right.
wear her out for 20 minutes
Right.
and put her shoes and everything back on? We're still at the school.
Hmm.
But the point is, while getting her home, while I held her, I told the monitor to go in the washroom and yeah, you're bleeding. And I didn't know she hit, but she did it so fast, didn't see it. But again, we take care of it. We got her home. Then I didn't want my monitor to tell the mother, and of course she did. I'm like, I wouldn't have told the mom that because the mom gets nervous. I said, no, we'll take care of it. Don't worry. But my point is, regardless, just when you're dealing with these young, because they're precious, they're very sacred beings. Um, just keep it at that. They're the most high's youth. If you can't handle them, Harut, matter of fact, you don't want to camp. I already know that that's going to be during my career because we usually bid on it. Well, I already know nobody's going to bid on that one. I already know that.
Oh,
I
you bid
actually
on
know.
your.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be in it for maybe a year or two. But I feel guilty now because if I'm not there, again, vibration. If you're imbalanced, they're going to react. And if you don't have a monitor that's ready to handle, because now can you imagine all 8 of them act up? Now you can't drive with that going on. You have to pull over and you have to contain that environment. And yes, it can get rough. And so the point is keeping your calmness and balance and then dealing with the situation is going to help. But you know what I loved? The reason I desired this job, I appreciate this job. Growing up as a little boy, and I had to tell my monitor this, and I told my boss this too. The reason I became a bus driver because I had as a little boy, 3rd grade, my bus driver, know her name to this day, Marilyn. She was my bus driver. I loved her. She was my little mom, and I looked for her every day. That's why I'm doing it now. I am seeing Marilyn over 20 years ago. It's because of her that why I'm doing this. Because why? This little boy, little Harut, appreciated this driver. And when she wasn't there, I was sad. And so now I look at my youth. Now they're special needs. They may not, but it doesn't matter. One day they may grow up and say, oh my God, like my one student. He's going to be an adult one day. He's going to remember. And he's one of the ones that talks. He gets scared. I had to calm him down. I said, but one day I may see him 20 years like, you remember me? Is that you? Wow! It's because of you. Again, you don't know how you don't know how you're touching these young people. Just like my bus driver, she touched my life. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be doing this. I actually did this because of her. Because she touched me as a little boy. And so, and I thanked her 20 years ago. I know she's been retired. 20 years ago, I ran into her. I went back to the bus company that she still worked for. I remember the bus company is on the west side. And I went there and I asked her, because I thought she retired by then. She said, no, she'll be coming in. She came off route. And she said, do you remember? I asked her, do you remember me? She said, I remember you. She didn't know my name. I said, but I knew her name. I said, you know, you touched me to this point that's why I'm doing this now. And she couldn't believe it. Out of all the students she had, this little boy remembered her. And that's why I say to people, regardless of what you do in your life, you don't know if you're touching that person or not. Be careful how you treat someone.
Right.
Be careful how you talk to them. If you don't humble, this job, yes, they humble me every moment when I deal with them. Okay? And again, it helps. I share with you. It keeps my sanity.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember I had there was 2 bus drivers at my primary school. One of their names was Alex. I remember Alex because he was the bus driver I was supposed to take. And the other one was Mr. Pratt, right? Mr. Pratt is an old man. He wasn't like you. He always seemed grumpy to me for some reason, right? But I only met him once. I rode on his bus once, and that was I think at one point who was supposed to pick me up for school, they forgot. So I was like, I gotta get home, and I know these buses gonna leave soon, and I live nowhere near where we live. I mean, I went to school nowhere near where we live, and I was new to Freeport. I didn't know Freeport, so I was about. I think we moved there when I was 9, and this was the first year I was there. I'm still getting used to the school, and I'm still getting used to the island. And when I got on the bus, I didn't know what I had to do. I knew I had $1 for the bus, but that was it, So I got on the bus, and the whole time we're riding on the bus, and I'm looking out the window to see if I see anything familiar, right? Because I don't know what I'm doing for me. I never rode a bus by myself before, So we riding around, and everybody gets dropped off, and I don't see my house. I tell him, because I was shy, I didn't talk. So
Right.
it's like, excuse me, because I'm the only child left on the bus. And I tell him, like, I didn't see my house. And I don't know where we are. He got kind of irritated at first, and then he looked at my face. He could tell like I don't know what to do. He's like he took a deep breath and he was like, "Where you live?" I told him where I live, and it was a big thing because they'd already put out like a police report because they didn't know what happened to me. They finally went to the school and they didn't see me there. And this bus just pulls up in the front of the yard, and I just step off the bus like, "Where the hell were you?" you know. I told him what happened and everything. After that, I had to ride the bus.
Right.
After a while, I had to ride the bus. It wasn't his bus, but I learned from that experience. Like, okay, this is how I get home. I remembered everything that day. you
Wow.
know, but I remember his face to this day. Old man had glasses on, one of those those old hats, the caps that taxi
Right.
drivers wear.
Uh-huh.
And that was like I never forget the day because I had to be self-reliant. But if he wasn't kind enough to me, then he's like, and he was chastising me, and I didn't realize until later it was because like you don't know what could have happened to you.
Right.
That's what he was trying to teach me. Like you don't know what could have happened to you. Do you know how far we are from where you live? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
remember him asking me that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you don't do things like that. And he took me on. He talked to me for like 5 minutes straight, and then he got quiet. He
Wow.
just turned me off. But I never forget that moment.
Wow.
But yeah, man, people you, you don't forget who look out for you.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I had some mean bus drivers too. It's funny you saying that. I'm like, oh yeah,
hmm
don't tick them off. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
there was
yeah,
one male, and he didn't play, but he didn't have no problems either. But yeah, life is a journey, and you know, you have these moments that again, we take it for granted. We really take it for granted.
yeah. You take it for granted,
You know,
and sometimes you take it for granted that the people you meet are gonna be balanced.
right?
You take it for granted that you can walk out your house and go home and not meet a psychopath.
Oh, I met him. I just walk across the street.
Yeah,
I mean, not literally, but they're crazy enough for me. I just call them crazy.
yeah. But it's hard to walk across the street if you're always walking around on your phone all day.
Exactly. You're distracted. Exactly. You don't hear
Yeah, you
what's
don't
going
see it
around
coming.
you. Right. Right.
You think all of the psychotic people are on the news. They're not real.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watch my surroundings, and it's funny you were saying that because the list of the things we do to keep that mind and the balance in the heart. I know I pay attention to my surroundings. I pay attention to when am I doing. So that's one of the things I do as well is as you were sharing, like my atmosphere,
Mhm.
because I have levels of what I do. So we know the silence is one. We know to keep the brain, and another one is my atmosphere. um, that helps me with my focus and the things I look at. That also with my atmosphere, I'm aware of who I'm around or who's around me. Like when I
Mhm.
get to the garage, I don't stay in because guess what? Those drivers are chaotic. I can pick it up. I can't be in there. I go in, do what I gotta do, tap in, and get the heck out. Get my key and get out. That's how
Mhm.
because I don't want that energy and flowing to interrupt my peace. And
Mhm.
so um and so in that atmosphere, my home is peaceful. So in my work environment, so my work environment for me is that bus. I have to prepare that bus every day. And I'm grateful for the training. The training really, because we literally got to check it every single day. I have to check and make sure it's safe. Me and Aki Ramant were having a conversation. He was getting on me about being a mechanic. Well, Aki
Mhm.
Ramant, guess what? I'm not a mechanic, but guess what? I have to check to make sure the oil and the belts are, because guess what? That's part of our training.
Mhm.
Because if we take that vehicle out there and it breaks down and they find out in our pre-trip that we did not inspect it right, guess who's going to be on? It's on the driver.
Mhm.
But that's part of the journey. So now my work environment is that bus. So now that's why wherever I'm moving, I make sure that that atmosphere is safe. Because again, this is my environment, and also if someone's like getting on, I'm like that's protecting my environment or protecting us on that environment. So then,
Mhm.
again, going back to that moment, because the atmosphere, if it's toxic, it could be a problem. Okay. So with the atmosphere, that's why it's prepared today. If I'm in the mood, I have my earphones. I can listen to music. So I'm ready in the event if I'm delayed or whatever it is. I have my music. I have whatever it takes to help me move with that strong. That's of course after my meditations. If you know, I haven't been able to listen to music in a while because been listening to podcasts and stuff. Um, and that's again when I'm on the train or bus commuting, so that helps me because I'm preparing. And so, but my atmosphere, I'm very mindful of my atmosphere.
Right. And you can't listen to you can't have headphones on while you're driving.
And you can't have a phone. Now, that's a
Right.
funny thing about phones. It's against the law. Now, people know you're not supposed to have any phones in your car anyway.
Right.
It's against the law as a commercial vehicle. If you get caught, police or the company, you get automatically termination. Automatic.
Hmm.
So of course, I have no problem because my phone is stowed away. It's in my jacket or my bag, and so I'm not distracted because why? I don't have it. Now I've seen some drivers, but that's
They
on
try
us.
sneaking on. Yeah.
No,
It,
because we on our bus we got cameras and audio.
mm,
Everything's recorded. But again, I I'm not bombarded by any devices. Okay, so.
yeah. But another thing with that too is there are times when you can't tune things out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just block out the outside, and try to go to your happy place. You're gonna have to deal with it is that you're dealing with. And
Exactly.
even going back to moving with that peace,
Right.
maintaining your identity in that chaos. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how chaotic that bus gets, you maintain your identity,
Right.
and you help that because of that, you were able to direct everyone as to
Mm-hmm.
what they should do in that moment to bring it back to a place of balance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because some people only like balance. They
Right.
only like it when things are flowing smoothly or
Right.
relatively smoothly, where
Right.
they don't have to necessarily employ some sort of critical thinking,
Right.
you know. And I think that's why a lot of those other drivers, another reason why a lot of those other drivers could be cranky as well,
Mm-hmm.
because I have to be constantly aware of what's going on with these children. I don't want to think. I want to just go to work, do what they tell me to do, go home, get my paycheck, go home, and wait to go to work on Monday. I don't want to think while I'm here.
Right. Right. Even though they've been prepared and trained, and because there's a lot of training I went through. I appreciate that training because when I
Hmm.
drove a bus over 20 some years ago to where it is now, a lot of things have changed, and I
Hmm.
appreciate it because like wow, a lot of things have changed. Like it's funny you mentioned about you were on the bus. We can't even bring a student on the bus if that student's not assigned, because I know, and also I have the name, the phone number. I also didn't bring this up, but we have, when you're dealing with special needs students, we drivers are privileged. We have not on my bus, but there are some students that have DNR, do not resuscitate. Not on my route, but drivers, we are privileged because in the event if something happens between school and home, and let's say like we have some students that have that, and if in an emergency case that would happen, that driver has to know and the monitor. And that's why we go through a serious background check. They are very particular about you being around the children. Okay, and that's good because going back to pedophiles and everything, yeah, they're out
Hmm.
there, crazy as it is, but that's real. And so
Hmm.
now, because of that, we are in our care to understand. Yes, you may have a special needs student, and you have to their history. If they're in a wheelchair, if they're hearing impaired, or whatever the needs are, we have that available. So I have a list that's confidential. I keep it, and so if the route ever, I have to shred it because we're not allowed to leave that because it can fall in the wrong hands. All that is we're held accountable for.
So you get
Okay.
a new one every day.
No. I get a new one every season when the route changes, or
Mhm.
they add or change the route with a student.
Okay.
So if something changes, they know where we're at. They know where that bus is at. They know we came to the house. They know we went to school. You can't lie. Everything's recorded. Everything's monitored. So
Yeah.
a safety measures, which is great. And it's
Mm.
sad that you do hear stories about, yes, drivers have ran over their students, or a
Wow.
child got off the bus and it got ran over by a car. Yes, those are real. They still happen. Okay, and we go through that training too. Or you can't leave that student with somebody else. What happens if next door is a pedophile? When they get
Mhm.
off, they have to go to the person that's registered to them.
Mhm.
If they go to the person opposite, no, that's held on that operator.
Mhm.
And guess what? You're prosecuted. So if you do something negligent, it's on the operator. It's on the driver.
Mhm.
It's on the driver. So, so yes, nothing is taken out of content. Everything
Right.
is particular.
Like, it goes back to your point about focus and being mindful as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to go to the chat a little bit. I know it's
Yeah.
probably piled up. Last time I checked was 9:01. It's almost 10. So,
Yeah.
Sovereign each. Oh, she was responding to Chief's earlier comment about special needs people having a lot to teach you.
Yeah.
She says, yes, Chief, indeed. They express in so many unconventional ways that calls for patience and humility. And if you don't have it, they will force it on you.
Yeah. That is true. That is
And
true.
sovereign needs you deal with children all day as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Aki Alcaraz says, when my dad drove a school bus for special needs kids, he said the same thing.
Wow. You learn something every day. Thanks, El Karar, for that sharing. Wow.
Oh, I forgot. I'm gonna share um I'm gonna share the link to the live in the chat for anyone who wants to join it.
Oh, darn. I
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you that early on, but then I
Speaking of
couldn't.
focus.
Right. Uh,
Yeah, my apologies. Dr. Hava says, so true, Chief. Her mother gets to see the God in you when she needs it most. I think she's talking about when the little girl had the episode and you
yeah.
brought off the bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Sovereignty says they do pick it up rather quickly and they will tell you. I think she's speaking about the vibration.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's one thing that I picked up: the frequency and vibration. If you're off, just like those little children, they will let you know, and they will challenge you. Yes, yes,
Mhm.
that is true. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. Not to me, but I've seen it happen with others, and the driver could not control it.
Mhm.
Because I was the monitor before. I was waiting for my background check to come back, and I was a monitor,
Mhm.
and I watched the driver. And I'm like, okay. Then I had to take over. I'm like, okay, you can't talk like that. You're not supposed to. I don't know. This is your student now. I'm like, but go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, Chief says um, the drivers may also be special needs. They
Yeah,
may
they
be
are.
stunted in compassion and empathy sensitivities. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah, I've met some drivers that are like that. It's funny you said that Chief mentioned it. Yes, and I can't believe it. And I'm like, actually, and to even add to what Chief just mentioned, you gotta love children though.
Mhm.
Now you may take that. People may just sit with that for a moment. You're driving a school bus, and you're dealing with students, right? Everybody doesn't like kids.
Mhm.
Everybody can't handle kids. But guess what? We have some drivers. I don't know how they made it. They made it through the
Right.
background check or so. But you gotta like if you're gonna work with these children, you gotta like to work with them. But I also
But I
see the
can
trauma of the
imagine.
drivers. Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just thinking, like, do they test you on that front? I'm
Well,
sure they
they
test your
do. They
technical
pass
skills.
everything, but then I guess what I see. I hear the comments on the radio, in the terminals from these drivers. And then what I can't, but I'm like, you've been doing this for so long, but I noticed those are the drivers that have problems.
Mm.
Because one, and I don't say nothing to them, I just listen. And I'm like, that person doesn't even like children. So I can imagine if they only have their own children or if they do or not. But you'll be surprised. Yes, do some, just like teachers. Just because you're a teacher doesn't mean you like students.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people miss that. And I've
I
had
have
some
a
teachers
couple of them.
that give problems. Like I had to talk to my son. I'm like, no, we ain't gonna have that. But you'll be surprised. They are in the system.
Yeah, and to them it's just a 9 to 5. It's just a 9 to 5. There was one teacher, I'm not gonna say his name, Mr. L. But everyone could tell every break that he got, every free period he got, he would go to his car in the parking lot and drink and smoke weed. And then he'd come around and the students smelling like weed and liquor all day. But he taught religious knowledge.
Wow.
And it's
Religious knowledge.
everybody's like, I'm not learning nothing from you.
Wow.
I can't learn nothing from you.
Wow.
You know, you have teachers who say, I'm getting paid either way. So
Exactly.
we don't have to learn anything if y'all don't want to shut up.
I during the Christmas break, I was out another terminal, and I couldn't believe what I heard. This is a driver, and he retarded. I say it, and I know why I don't like him. He actually got in trouble twice. One of the times he urinated on the side of the bus with the students on the damn bus. I'm like, are y'all kidding me? And they caught him on tape. Now, do you know what they charged him with?
Mm-hmm. Indecent exposure.
Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
When you do things like that, and he was supposed to be registered as a child offender because that's offensive. You could have traumatized those children on that bus by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They had to fire him, but you know what? Another company brought him back. He got fired from one place. They moved him to another place.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, he was in my class, by the way. I understand why I didn't like him. Because he just, retarded.
He's not all there.
But then they told me what happened. I'm like, and then another part, he was smoking. You're not supposed to leave that bus. He was smoking outside the bus, again, with students. But these are the rules. But again, going back to people, you think that people know better, but guess what? No. And by the way, when I was working with them, those were not special needs students. Those were regular high school students. Because the company is very big. So there are times they'll send us out to other areas. If our school is closed, they'll send us to other areas. And and I learned that from him, just from him. And it's amazing when you find out stuff from people. Again, I watch people. I see chaos. I ain't going to talk about where I came from, where I worked, and the stuff that I seen happen there that you won't believe. But that's the point.
So is there like a quota that they try to fill where it doesn't matter who they allow around children, whether they're balanced or not?
If they find out, they will fire you.
If they can prove it.
There is,
If they can prove it.
Yes, they can prove it because everything's videotaped. Video and video and audio. That's why there's a national shortage of school drivers, because that rooted out all the bad drivers from years past. There were a lot of abuses going on. Stories about molesting? There was a story that came up about a child was molested on the bus and the driver didn't know it. And I'm like, these are stories I'm picking up. How the hell do you not know? But that happens. The driver got charged though, because now they're suing. The parents are suing. They have the law now has it where they don't have to sue the company now. They can sue the driver. And guess what? You're going to be criminal charges going to go, and you're going to go to jail. It's serious now. So that's why there's a national shortage, because the laws have changed now. Again, dealing with these youth, and you hear the stories, and I can't believe it. Like leaving a child. One of the biggest problems is leaving a child on the bus unattended. That is one of the national issues that goes on. But why? I can't fathom that. You're supposed to check your bus, but has that happened? Yes. The bus is sitting in the garage and it's by itself, and the child's back there asleep. No one is frantic. That is a felony. It's a class A felony now. That's in the test. If that happens to you, not only are you gonna get fired, but you're also gonna go to jail. And for the rest of your life, you're gonna have a felony, a class A felony. Because leaving a child unattended on the bus when you're supposed to check it. But because of these issues, we didn't get to the pedophile issue. We didn't get to stories of leaving the child with the wrong person. And like example, if we're taught, we have our notes. If we're supposed to leave with grandmother, let's say you leave with grandmother and say the uncle is a pedophile. We cannot leave it with uncle. Now, we don't know if uncle is a pedophile, but guess what we found out? That actually happened. That's the actual true story. But we didn't find out until later after they sued.
Wow.
And then driver was accused because the driver was given strict instructions. You only to leave it with that designated parent or guardian. You cannot leave it with a sister or sibling. You cannot leave it with, and we've had that. And so that actually just happened a couple weeks ago in another location. And they're suing. And they found out that the person they left it with, oh no, that was one. There was another one where the child was left. It went into the house and never came. The parent called and didn't know where the child was. And they found the child. The police found the child naked, special needs, without clothes on. They're suing him. But these are stories that you hear about.
Wow.
And it's sad, but this is the reality that happens in life. So we can imagine what happens in other avenues of life with people and children and moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. This it's sad, that it's sad that everything has to be set up that way.
Right.
To where even where with special needs, you can't afford to take care of that child.
Exactly.
Or you can't afford for a special education for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one can stay at home and cater to that child's need. You have to
Right.
entrust
Wherever
this child to
whatever that
someone
parent,
else.
exactly, whatever that parent is, and then not only that, but the company always comes back and says, "What happens if that was your child?
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel?" Safta Hava mentioned in the chat a mother. Can you imagine a mother not knowing where your child is?
Mm-hmm.
And they know what time and you don't know where they're at. You don't know what
Mm-hmm.
happened to them. And so, what happens if that's your child?
Right. And
And
that goes back
you
to that
trust,
being
huh?
stunted. That goes
Yeah.
back to being stunted
And the
with
trauma
compassion.
that child goes through. That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
The trauma, abandonment.
Right.
Okay. What happened? The child was found with his clothes off. Thank God he was unharmed. But the problem, where was his clothes? But again, how would you feel if that was your child? How would you
Mm-hmm.
feel if that was you? And that's the thing, going back to humble yourself. And how do you, I look at these youth and I'm like, I treat them the same honor and respect that I wanted for myself or I would give to anybody else. Remove the fact of the special needs. That's just a what is the word? I don't look at it that way because it's special need. That means they need, for me, not just special attention, but it's like treat them with dignity. It's
Mm-hmm.
about dignifying a person. That's another thing with us and Anu. The world, there's no, outside of the chatter and the chaos, there's no dignity anymore.
Mm-hmm.
When you're hearing the shootings and again, how do people, when their inner voice and the devils are, the demonic spirits are, and then they do things? Well, why is that? Because why? somehow that person was marred or stigmatized or traumatized, whatever the
Hmm.
case may be, and now that is affecting their life. So now that perpetrator is now affecting someone else, usually
Right.
someone innocent. So it's
Hmm.
beyond just the special needs or the school bus driver. No, it looks at even life.
Right,
This
because
is
it
outer life.
spreads. It spreads.
Yeah.
And that sad part about not having a community, because how many of those children have single parents?
Out of all of mine, wow. All of them have, no, no. None of them have single parents.
None of them have single
None of them.
parents.
I know the parent. I know mom and dad. Oh, I know one has got grandma, but the daughter and the mom. I met the father. No, all of them have mother and father. Yes, that's the
Okay,
fun thing. I know that about all of my students because I met
right,
all of them.
right. That's good because not having both of them in the home, that's got to make it even rougher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But even with that, having communities that can support each other,
Mm-hmm.
in those types of situations. Because like you said, they can only leave, you can only leave them with the person who's assigned to them,
Mm-hmm.
which you should,
Right.
you know, you should, because a lot can go left very quickly because there's no one assigned to them 24/7. They get handed off
Right.
to different people, and they try to regulate as much as they possibly can, but parent can't make it home in time.
Exactly. And that's where we know. Okay, if case mom's not there, I've met
Mhm.
either dad or grandmother. We know who. We cannot leave it with a sibling. Anybody under 19? No, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, under 18. No. No, where's grandma?
Mhm.
If, a lot I know you were in the chat. You were did you put the stream up? Did you put the I just thought about that because I know you're reading in the chat and I didn't want to I just I'm focusing. I'm,
Right.
I'm helping you out. I remember.
I
Did you
just
put
went
the
down to the bottom. Yeah, I pasted it. I
okay.
pasted it. Okay,
Okay.
good.
So, but no, these are little things like my route. It's funny. I'm glad you asked that question. I know the parents. I'm blessed because I interact with each of the parents, grandmother. I know who's who. That
Okay,
will
good.
never happen with me because I know, and I talk with the parents, and I want to know the age groups. Their age groups from 10 to 50. Oh no, one of my students I found out he's 19. And
Well,
then
okay.
I have my babies, the 4-year-olds. So I know, yeah. Sometimes mom will bring them. Sometimes dad, how you doing? And again, so yes, my students, they have a whole family of mother and father or the grandparent. And it's
Okay.
funny. I never thought about it until you brought that up. That's a uniqueness. I never thought about that until you brought that up. Now, are there a lot of routes that single parent? Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. You know, it
Yeah.
breaks my heart when I heard some drivers said, "No, I'm gonna tell you," and it's almost daily. And I hear this. Driver calls in, he says, "You know what? The parent, nobody's there. So you know what they have to do? If they can't bring him back to school, they got to take him to the police department, and it's called a no-show." And it breaks my heart when I hear that. Because can you imagine you drop that child off at the police department because parent wasn't there to pick him up?
Yeah, talk about abandonment issues.
Well, yeah, and I
Actually,
hate hearing that.
that's a good point because talk about mind heart balance, right? And dealing with things. For a while I thought that I was forgotten, but come to find out they were late because they got delayed.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that. I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? Because I know how far the school is from where I live.
Right.
And if these buses leave, I won't be able to get home.
Right.
That's how I was thinking as a child. I was already thinking like I was about here. Come to find out, wasn't abandoned. They were late.
Right.
But I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
Exactly.
And I'm in a new environment, so I don't know anybody. I don't know anyone's numbers out my head. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I can't imagine because it's a smaller place. It's an island, so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are they know each other, they have a similar culture. You're talking about places in the States where it's much larger. You're more likely to bump into strangers. You don't know what they have, what kind of intentions they have,
Right.
and you know the environment is dangerous, and you get left alone.
Yeah.
Some of those things like that could stay with someone for a while. These are some of the things that could feed into that imbalance.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's interesting, like you said, when you know everyone, and as you were sharing, I think about one of my students. She left her glasses one time. I think she's about 7, and her parents are from Nigeria. And my monitor was like, "You know her name?" I said, "Yeah, well, I know certain words. I know that's Nigerian. I know that word very well. So I know her." And it's like, "How did you know?" I'm like, "Yeah." But she left her glasses.
Hmm.
And now every day, and I'm like, "Dad," because Dad always greets me. And I said, Where are your glasses?" "Oh, they're in my book bag." "Okay, okay. Because you left them one time and we got them. But the point is, little things like that, you're paying attention. Little things.
Right.
That's all that matters. It's the little things that count.
Yeah, man.
It's the little
Yeah,
things.
definitely.
Um,
Aki Elkarat says, oh, I think he's talking about your other job. So yeah, this is a cakewalk compared to dealing with the people on
oh
CTA
yeah.
buses.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Exactly, Chief. Chief is saying even when the children don't remember names and words, they always remember who is kind to them and who is mean to them. That's something
Mm-hmm.
that people carry for the rest of their lives.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Siafi says, true story. Sometimes it shapes our interact. Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes it shapes our interactions with others. Yeah, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
does. And sometimes it's like one of your kids you were saying how they flinch.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that flinch it stays with us. That internal flinch,
Exactly.
like don't hurt me. Like you
Exactly. He
get
just
in a
got hit.
relationship, right? So you can imagine someone who got into a relationship and they got hit or they got scarred somehow. Something happened, they got betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
It traumatizes them. So now anytime they get around something even remotely resembling a relationship, like that's a part of their model of what a relationship is. I
Mm-hmm.
expect to get hit. One of my a good friend of mine, he dated a sister like that. Both her parents were abusive. At least both her parents were yeah, they both had their abusive ways. But her father was physical, her mother was like verbally abusive. So she doesn't live with any of them. She didn't grow up with either of them,
Right.
you know. But she was abusive, you know,
Right.
like and um she expected abuse.
Yeah. There are people like that.
She expected that to be like that's a part of her matrix of what a relationship is. There's gonna be
Exactly.
abuse. Like people break up, people fight all the time, um, people argue all the time. Like she always wanted attention,
Mm-hmm.
and and he always had to sit her down. Like, listen, you're gonna get taken. I see why you got taken advantage of, and I'm telling you now, you can still be taken advantage of. If I wasn't who I am, I'd be taking advantage of you
Mm-hmm.
because of what you're showing me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's funny you said that because, like Chief mentioned, some people I've witnessed. Yes, they cannot be in a natural relationship. They have to have some level of abuse. And I've like,
Mhm.
wow, when you work with people like that, and oh yeah, that's real. That is definitely real.
Yeah, yeah, they're not comfortable unless there's some sort of conflict.
Exactly.
Yeah, Chief says, man, I still pass my stop on trains and subways. I am a terrible public, I'm a terrible public transportation rider. I would do it on airplanes too if there were parachute drop offs like the Jets. Yeah, well, yeah, never forget. Oh, and he had to ask me because I was so scared to speak up.
Uh-huh.
And I'm remembering it a lot clearer now. He asked me, "Where is your stop? Like, where do you live?" And I told him, and that's when he got irritated because he's like, "You know how far we are away from that?
Wow.
You know how long ago we passed that place?"
Wow.
And it's like, wow, remembering it now, like I never realized like I knew how lucky I was, but thinking about it now, like even like in context of what you're talking about with those the youth, and
Mm-hmm.
what happens in buses over there, like I never really stopped to express gratitude
Mm-hmm.
that didn't go left. That was a very innocent ending to that whole scenario. It could
Mm-hmm.
have gone much farther left. But that's another thing too with youth. If you aren't corrupted yet, you don't really foresee some of these scenarios.
Right.
You can't fathom some of these things taking place. It'll warp your mind once you
Mm-hmm.
realize how probable some of these things are, or even how common some of these things are. Whether
Right.
it's kidnapping or molestation or abuse, or negligence. Um, and a lot of this comes from that stunted compassion that Chief was speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so um your heart isn't mature. Sometimes you're not mature mentally, but also you don't even know how to connect to others.
Right. Right.
You
Like
know.
you said, your heart's not in it.
Hmm. And a lot of us are stunted in those a lot of those areas as well.
Mm-hmm.
It may not show up as severely, but most of us have some of that stunting because of the culture and the environments that we grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
Plus we don't grow up in communities, um, especially communities that have structure,
Mm-hmm.
where people can look at you and see like, wait, nope, we gotta fix this.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta address this. We can't let that grow. We
Mm-hmm.
can't allow that to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like finding out your child has lice. I don't know where they
Right.
got. I don't know where they get lice from, but we got to deal with that right away.
And it's
You know.
funny you said that. Those are real stories. Those are
Yeah.
real students, the kids, not mine, but yes, those are stories I've heard.
Mm,
You know, what do you do? Yeah, you got, or the again, a terminal illness. We have students like that.
mm,
Okay, now how do you deal with that? That's not an easy task. Okay, I remember years ago I dealt with a student who had that. It was a high school student years ago, but now it's different. But still, it's a reality. It's a part of the job.
mm,
Okay. And it's funny you mentioned about being in chaotic environments. Growing up for me with my mom, wow. when you've grown up, growing up in sometimes in a chaotic environment, and you like, okay, this is not how life is, and
mm,
so that's again going back to that balance. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about and sharing, it took me time to work at this because yeah, I had a traumatic childhood as a little kid. My mom, she was in an abusive relationship, and when you grow again traumatized when you go through things like that. But at the same time, I always strive and like, okay, this is not normal.
mm.
Where
Yeah.
some people it becomes normal, and I've
Mhm.
always, regardless of those traumas, some of us don't make it out of it. Most of us don't, but then those who do, there are stories that you're like, wow, we've never known. Yeah, but
Mm,
those moments I'm not there because it's funny when I communicate with my patients, and they get surprised when I share certain stories about me, and they're like, I didn't know that if I mentioned about priesthood or this and that, but when I mention like things like trauma, Even I learned something when Chief mentioned at our retreat. Wow, Chief, I'm still studying that. That how do you make sense of a situation you've gone through, but then you balance it out. And that's where I can tell you from dealing with my traumas, relationships, as well as watching my mom go through hers and watching that. What helped me is I had, again, remember I was saying early on, is like, how do you bring balance in a chaotic world that the world makes chaos and imbalance normal now? It's normal to be a person that's, it's amazing. And this, I go back to Aki Zach was mentioning in his segments. But today's world is normal. It's funny how people normalize imbalance. They'll normalize demonic thoughts. They'll normalize it's okay to live a chaotic life. It's normal. And we're comfortable with that. And I'm like, that dang it, are y'all crazy? And that's what strives. That's where what motivates me. That's where it's like, I don't give a damn if y'all want to be crazy. I'm not doing this. And so that's why, for me, it's like, okay, I knew, in the journey up until I knew, it's like I had to figure it out. And then, but again, not just figuring it out, because I didn't figure it out and got it on my own. And that's going to go to the Bible verse I'm going to use. I'll quote Matthew, because this will tie into what we're sharing. There's something within you that's like, okay, we got to work this out. Even though you don't have no solution where it's going to come from, there's a part of you, and that's where that part of the Most High is. If it dwells there, it's going to germinate and it's going to come out sooner or later. So if you desire that, if you desire peace, if you desire that, you're gonna bring that out. The Most High has always answered my prayer. Anything that I sought in creating, I was always getting the ability, the answer to the solution. And so that's what helps me. So what I do with all of that is I give it back. I give it back to another. I help another with their chaotic moment. Not everybody, because some of them like, no, that person just gonna die that way. No, hell no. Like I love when Chief mentioned, he's like, we're not here to help Satan's world. He's doing fine with those that want to.
He got enough workers.
He's got his workers that the hell with. Yes, that's why I say sometimes, no, hell with y'all. Y'all just gonna die that way because y'all want it. But then there's certain ones you meet along the journey where, like each and every one of us that came in, I knew that, you know what, I need to work this out. I need to find a solution. I need to find some. And then I knew then we meet Chief, and then Chief. A lot of us, it's funny, Aki Zach would say, Chief makes it seem easy, but you don't know what he had to go through to be the chief. He went through a lot. A lot of us couldn't handle. We was talking about special needs students. No. How about when he's still dealing with adult special needs. Adult retarded people. And we still do retarded things. Adults that still want to cultivate that demon in us. Because why? We just don't. When you walk around, you don't even know you're demon. And then you like, oh, yeah, I see it all over you. Not me. The devil's a lie. No, bro. The devil's all over there. No, I ain't lying. It's there. But guess what? You don't see it. But we all see it. So now, how do you deal with that?
Right.
Either you're going to deal with it, or I know Chief know how to do some exorcisms. But now it's so funny when Chief did from last fellowship, he was like, you know what? The hell with it. I'm gonna give him back to Satan because they're his people anyway. You don't want to be peace. You don't want to correct your mind. You don't want to correct your life. You want to live like an animal. You want to live. Matter of fact, you want to live below an animal. Because at least I know I'm watching my meditation. Some animals are more dignified than some damn people. Okay, but the point is, I love how cheap when he broke it down. He's like, I'm not here to help Satan in his world. Because guess what? He's got a whole bunch of them all over the place. I'm not here to make Satan's world more perfected. No. But what he was sharing was, I'm here to help build Yah's kingdom on earth. All of us among us, if you're not striving to build that kingdom or just striving to have that peace, that silence, creating that an atmosphere, creating the environment, all this ties into what we're sharing. If you're not willing to cultivate that and build, you guess what? You're gonna have the opposite of it. And then, like we said, some are just comfortable being in a chaotic world because that's that road that's everybody follows. But that single road that the few chose with Yahushua. And that's why I give thanks for the new lessons and what we are learning. And so, I tell you what, I'm gonna tie this in with Matthew. Matthew 6:25 verse 25 to 34. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, or what you shall drink, nor yet for your body, what you shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body more than raiment? Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his nature? And why take ye thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you, that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Wherefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and to tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or wherewith shall we be clothed? For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things. But seek ye first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Take therefore no thought for tomorrow, for tomorrow shall take thought for things of itself. Sufficient unto days is the evil thereof. And so what I love about that passage, especially when, and this ties into what we're sharing. Seek ye first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness, and all things given unto you. My focus is, if I put my focus on Yah, on the Most High, and I desire his kingdom, his kingship, his righteousness, his will, his reign, his law. If I seek that, then he'll make sure all our needs are taken care of. And so this goes back to why I don't have to worry about when I walk and worry about gunfire, or why I don't have to worry about the negative things that happen in the world, or worry about certain things. Because why? If I strive, and this is part of the work that I love, and this is, again, going back to focus, I desire first the righteousness of the Most High in my life and in my actions. And if I do that, and yes, he does take care of me. He makes sure that my needs are met. He makes sure that whatever we need to do is done. And so giving back, and this is what once we're giving this, then you give it back. You don't hoard it. You don't cover it. You give it back. Because now I'm so grateful. This is going back to gratitude. All of this we're sharing about our mind, heart, and balance. Once you bring all this into fruition, and once you bring it into order and balance, then you go through moments of life where there's gratitude and appreciation of the little things that we see in life.
Mhm. Right. And that gratitude is definitely important.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I liked about that passage as well is you think that you need to you think that you need to do all the things that you were taught that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning you get the checklist of all the things that you need to do. Go to school, get a good job. Um,
Mm-hmm.
once you graduate, you get married, you have 2.5 kids and a dog, get the house with a white picket fence.
Right.
Then you put all your money in a 401k, you retire, and then that'll take care of you.
Right.
It's all laid out. And the success rate for that, I don't know if it's been good over the years, but I know since the time that I was aware of it, it wasn't a reliable plan.
Right.
You know, but people still buy into it, and they think that that's the only way to live a fulfilled life.
Mm-hmm.
So you measure yourself against that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not in. By this time in my life, I should have been at step five.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not. so
Mm-hmm.
so I'm in trouble. You
Mm-hmm.
know. But I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about people who have been wealthy, who have been successful, um, and a lot of them they either didn't get to finish school or they learned in school that what it is that they were studying wasn't what they were supposed to be focused on.
Right.
You know, they have an experience and they see someone actually um, living practically. They
Mm-hmm.
see someone actually doing things that make sense as opposed to just like eventually something's gonna fall into my lap if I just keep following this track. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and, and when you look at those people's lives, they say, "Wow, I should have started doing this sooner."
Right.
You know, like take Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Mm-hmm.
The plan says that he should have finished school. He dropped out. He said, "Oh, okay, I'll do this because I'll do this, right?" And had he just said, "I'm not going to do that. I'm going to finish school," um, would he have done that? Maybe.
Right.
He could have even done both, right? But the thing is, it's how you move,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to be in touch, in tune with what it is that you should be doing. That consciousness is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And another section, part of mind heart words is your consciousness that's going to be interpreting all of these signals you get from your body,
Right.
right? And if that's based or rooted or stunted and by something that's very, it's very old to some of the people who may have been around it, but it's present with you, because it's still replaying in your mind over and over, whatever trauma, whatever argument, whatever offhand comment,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever self-doubt, whatever pain, whatever is keeping you stuck in a cycle, those things are still present with you. And you've got to reciprocate that. You've got to be willing to go into that space of silence, clear the atmosphere of anything that's going to distract you of anything like that. Be grateful for the opportunity to actually sit down and be able to recognize, I know exactly what's wrong with me.
Right.
Some people have so many play, like you say, they got so many demonic spirit, like they might be like the boss. They might have like eight or nine people or 8 or 9 spirits they gotta monitor while they're driving the bus, and they got no monitor,
Right.
right? And I was like, I hope one of these spirits don't act up, at least until I get home. You know what I mean? I hope one of them don't act up.
Right.
I can't afford to sponsor on my boss right now. My rent due. I can't afford to sponsor on my landlord. I might get kicked out. You're constantly trying to hold it in,
Hmm.
and you tense all day.
Hmm.
And you're very, like how this, like when a child can fall out a window, um, but they're so soft and then they may not tense up, so they may
Right.
be fine. You fall out a window, you break every bone in your body because you tense up. You know the ground is coming. You know what I mean? So you're always tense. You're like one word could just shatter you, and you're looking like every day you're waiting for the axe to drop. Like I
Right.
hope no one says something about my weight today because I can't take it. I can't do it today.
Right.
I hope no one says anything about my cleft lip or my tooth, my buck teeth. I hope no one says anything about it because I'm too sensitive today. Yeah, you know, I'm I'm not able to deal with it. I can't, but I
Right.
need to make money, so I have to go and do this thing.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
even though you know you're not in balance.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, and it's funny because what most people are now, they're becoming like robots.
hmm
You're not even able to think anymore.
They're not even tuned in to themselves anymore because there's
Exactly.
so much going on around them. Like you have so much variety of external stimuli, you know, and it's so much variety that you don't have to tune into one long enough for you to realize that it doesn't even make sense. And it's kind of an insult to your intelligence what's going on.
Hmm. Hmm.
You don't even have to tune into it long enough for that. It's like, oh, okay, I'll just go to TikTok. Oh, okay, I check all my notifications. What's going on Instagram?
Hmm.
Oh, okay, I checked on like you see that little red bubble with a number on it, or you see the little red heart pop up, and it's like dopamine,
Hmm.
validation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But your 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 sense of balance is based on what you get from your external environment. It's not based on having a silent internal environment. That part of you that's actually able to be humble enough to observe life as opposed to trying to be constantly bombarded by it.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so you can't just sit and observe it. You got to be in control of what it is that you see.
Exactly. But that also goes back to what you were sharing, like when Aki Zach did when he did a segment um, about knowing your purpose.
Mm,
Can you imagine now the Most High knows your purpose, but now you walk your whole life and not know it, and then you're doing something out of balance, out of order, and so now that also adds to the chaos. It also adds to if you're not taking control of your life, something they will take control of, or if you don't have a community, guess what? It's thrown on you to have something on you that's unnatural,
mhm,
unbalanced, and that also can contribute to a person not able to harmonize with nature, not harmonizing and having that sense of balance. If you don't know who you are, if you don't know your purpose, if you don't understand who you are, and then to put all of these things together and work it out, that's going to contribute to your problems. It's going to contribute
mhm.
to the imbalances, and that's where how many. Let's think about this: how Yah will call someone to do something. What happens if you able to have to be able to listen?
Right.
And now the Most High wants you to do something, but you're not able to listen, or you're doing something that's against your nature,
hmm
or you're doing something against what you're supposed to. Because why? The Most High had something designated for you, but and most people get confused about purpose because they think that purpose is to their occupation, or their purpose is, well, I'm gonna be a mother, I'm a father. It has nothing to do with your purpose. It has nothing to do, your occupation doesn't describe it. My purpose is not because I'm a bus driver. It had nothing to do with it. It's greater than that. So if you don't know and you don't understand what your purpose is, if you don't understand, and as you build that balance, I love how Chief mentioned about the balance between the light and the dark. If you don't learn to cultivate that, if you don't learn to bring that mind and bring it in, and another thing that people miss out on too is, and my gratitude, I appreciate those challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate those hiccups,
Right.
those traumas. Did you know that because when when I when I went through my moment after being in the corporate America, and that's when the Most High reminded me, that's why I had you there for 20 something years. I know you didn't want to do it, and I it's not. I love doing it. I didn't want to deal with the people. That's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. But the Most High was like, no, I got you there because I got something else greater for you. But if I didn't pay attention, I would have. And you know, I'm six. I mean, I'm sorry, not six. Excuse me. I'm 5'6", 5'7". Things go over my head. Okay. So I have this. You know, sometimes the Most High will. I'm like, okay, you didn't get it. All those times I'm teaching you why I have you here. Why have you do this? It wasn't until after He removed me from that environment over the situation. But He reminded me very quickly is that I had you there because, one, were you listening and obedient to what I had for you? Secondly, I'm teaching you something to help you deal with, because what I'm planning you for is something greater than you. And this is why we are in Anu to be, as Chief would share, and Chief has been sharing with us from day one for us men, you're Jegnas in training. We are
Mm-hmm.
royalty. This is a bloodline. Anu is not an average, this is not an average community. This is not an average movement. This is a bloodline. This is the Anu. And so when the Most High, if you're not able to listen and to cultivate and to be patient and appreciate the gratitude, you'll miss the mark. You'll miss the reason why you're here. Like Chief reminds us, you know this is a bloodline. Now, there are other bloodlines too. Those bloodlines, like the Zuckerbergs, Chief did a segment on Boule.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bloodline. Satan's got his bloodline too. Thank God we have ours. Our bloodline is focused on the Most High. We understand in our Hebraic lifestyle and how we move. This is part of the movement of us is Anu. So if you don't understand who you are, you're going to miss the point. And you'll miss the part of appreciating every journey along the way. Chief is asking something in the question in the chat.
Yeah, I was going along with it. I realized that this question was asked an hour ago.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but he had asked if there was any level of ongoing counseling or crisis training that the job offers or requires.
The job does. I appreciate this company. This first student, they do ongoing training. Ongoing. It's ongoing because people forget. People forget again. Forget what their purpose is. They forget that you're a driver. We these students. Your job is because of these students. Yes. So, Chief, to answer the question, yes. But the problem is people don't, they take it for granted.
So they don't pay attention during the
When
training.
your behavior, when you have demonic thoughts and your behavior is run by chaotic, you don't care. You don't give a damn.
You know
That's
what?
the sad part.
That that brings to mind. I was gonna It's still on the page actually. There was a section in the Mind Heart Words, but it's talking about your your conscious mind and subconscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how we interpret information, right? And she breaks down you have your left side of your brain, left hemisphere, which deals mainly with logical thinking, thinking in straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you have the right side, which mainly deals with abstract concepts, right? But those two are still um, they're still at the mercy of what it is that you put into your subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your subconscious has that 9 to 5 mentality. Like no matter what, I'll sit through this training because I don't really care about it anyway. I don't want this job. I don't want like all I want is the money and security. I would do anything. Whatever was available, I would have done it. It just so happens to be this job. I don't really care nothing about these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell me what I need to do. Tell me how to not go to jail, and let me get on about my business. I don't really care about crisis training.
Mm-hmm.
I hope none of them has an episode, and if they do, I'll just complain about them, try to get them off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
You know
And
what I mean?
usually with that, a person with those the ones that are really bad like that, they don't stay anyway.
Mm.
There are a lot of people since I've been there. A lot of people have quit. So it balances itself out.
Right,
Now
right.
there's some that are still there, but there's some that are not there because they realize, oh, I didn't expect all this.
Mm.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that
this
this was
ain't what I
that deep.
signed up for.
Exactly. I just
Yeah.
wanted my bonus. I came here for that. Now they pay very well. The CPS and they give. I mean, they've given out this past year a $7,000 bonus. It's separate, but you know what? People see they see that, but they don't see it.
Yeah.
No, that you got to go through. In order to get that, you got to go through special training. You have to
Hmm.
go through count. Yes, like Chief mentioned. Yes, and
Yeah.
so what they notice, I've been there only for a short while. What they notice that after a while, these people won't stay
Right.
because
Because they may see
they'll
the job description like, oh, I get all of that just for driving a bus?
yeah, yeah, and that's it. They think I'm just driving. Do you
I'm
know the
just driving the
transit
bus.
drivers where I came from? It's interesting. I compared it from the transit part to where the school. Most of them in the transit would not make it. The school bus part,
Mm.
they would not. They would not pass the FBI background check. They do an FBI and state background check on you. Well,
Wow.
that knocks out all half of the company I just came from. That knocks out all of them. If you have any felonies, you cannot drive. You cannot because the CPS is very strict about because again, bad behavior. So they were because of lawsuits. So they had to weed out those people that were the people that were very bad behavior. So and then once you get hired, you still got to go through counseling and training. That's an ongoing. We go through training. Oh my goodness, twice a month, and it's and you paid for it. But yeah, they're
Mm.
very strict about that. Now,
They
not all
make
bus
sure you
companies go
know.
through this. This is the number one company in the country, and the headquarters in Sweden. So they buy out small companies. So they literally I like their program. Actually, what they do something that I've never seen happen. And I've been in transportation for years. And some of the stuff they do, they should comply it into the public domain but it works. Now it doesn't. You still have retarded adults, special needs, like Chief, special needs adults. You're always gonna have them, okay? Because even with all the training, counseling, the devil's still there. That
Hmm.
chaos is still there.
Right,
It's
right.
still there. It's not going anywhere. And that's the part that I see. I'm like, oh my gosh, why are they still here? But you know what? That's not my problem. I'm not the boss. I don't want to be the boss. I just deal with what I work with.
Yeah, man. I just want to touch on this this quote from the segment that I just referenced from
Yes.
the Mind Art Words, and then I'll get to the chat to see if we could catch back up.
Gotcha.
Uh, so it says, this is at the end of the section on thoughts. It says, in reality, when we use our brains to work through an experience, it is best to use our whole brain. Emphasizing only one hemisphere or functioning from a purely reactionary state, which would be the subconscious, is an imbalanced act. Imbalances lead to disease. We want our logical mind, creative mind, and subconscious mind all working in unity with one another.
Mm-hmm.
This provides us with a more open and healthy viewpoint to process our happenings. There is a perverse myth that human beings only use 10% of their actualized mental capacity. This is an unverified fact. Holding thoughts like this in our subconscious only justifies further dissymmetry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that actually ties into the segment that you had referenced earlier about the power of silence,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he had said that let me make sure I don't butcher this. In order for the mind, body, in order for the mind, body, and spirit to communicate with the one,
Mm-hmm.
um, they all have to be able to. You have to operate with all of them in tandem at the same time, right? Similar to left brain, right brain, subconscious, right? You got to use them all together. That's where the balance comes from,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that balances out with your heart,
Right.
right? But you can't just focus on one side of it, or you just hope everything is fiery, so you don't
Exactly.
have to adapt, right? That adaptability that you demonstrated to your handler, I mean your handler,
Monitor.
monitor, right? Which you had demonstrated to your monitor during that crisis situation, it it helped her to see, wow, there's another way to handle something like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you said she wanted to throw up. That was her response
Oh, she did.
to it. Oh,
And
she did.
then I'm like, oh shoot, don't do it on the bus. I'm like,
Right.
okay,
Now I got two
so
messes to clean up.
yeah, because I gotta clean it up. I'm like,
Right.
I already gotta clean up one part, but if she did, I would have had to clean up anyway. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wow. No, that was what I wanted to bring up. But yeah, definitely. I'll go to the chat and I'll see if I can catch up with everything.
Gotcha.
Um, Anu Radio says I fall asleep in all moving vehicles like narcolepsy. Yeah, you kind of do. Luckily, there were kind people who looked out for me when I was younger. I got one of those chastisement dogs too, Master Menelek. Yeah, that comes from a place of compassion and concern, because they are like, yo, do you know what can happen to you? Like they've seen how sick people can be. You may not know yet because you don't know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But they've seen it. Abiyad says they will also call you who you truly are character-wise. If you have poor ways, they will tell you or communicate it to you in a way they can. Oh, I think he's talking about what you said about children recognizing like they can see a vibration,
Yes.
or they can see a character. They know when
Right.
something's off. Yeah, Abiyad, it sounds like the Church of Satan. I don't know what that one was in reference to.
Right.
Um, let's see. Sovereign Eat says, thank you for your reasoning, Abu Haruk. Most people think it's an easy job because they assume it's an easy responsibility. I say, ha, check yourself. Hardest job if you don't like you. Yeah, yeah. So that driver sounds like Otto from The Simpsons.
I,
I don't know The Simpsons like that.
I remember it, but I haven't watched it. I remember there's a driver, but yeah, I didn't get to watch The Simpsons.
I don't remember. I don't know the names. I know some of the characters,
Yeah,
but I
me
don't know the
either.
names.
I don't
If
know
he was
names
just
either.
a good old bus driver, I don't know if I remember him. Let's see, Yafi says drivers are also leaving children on the buses.
Yes, that's a number one problem still to this day.
Mhm. Wow. Um, Yadaram says it's amazing that Abba has so much more sensitivity and responsibilities in his new career path, but certainly you can hear that he is more at peace.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Um, Someone was sharing that there's such a shortage of school bus drivers that they were hiring teachers to drive.
Yes, that is true.
What?
Yes, yes,
That's crazy.
yes.
Chief Yuya says if states can charge a driver for a child being molested, a correctional officer should be held accountable for an inmate getting sexually violated. Wow,
Yeah,
that's true. That is very true.
exactly.
That is very. Do all that's a state law. That's not like
That's a state
a
law.
company.
So companies vary from their rules. I know our company, we have, when we had to take the state test, I had to know the company rule. The company rules supersedes the state, even though the state has their rules for nationally for everyone. But this company, their policies are more stringent than the state. So I had to learn
Oh,
both. Yeah, most companies are
okay.
not like that.
I can imagine why though. You'd rather punish internally than have, an external, a third party punishing
Well,
the
not only
drivers.
that, but I get it, the liability.
The liability is
Because
much
now
higher.
everything's on the driver. The company is no longer liable when an incident occurs. They push it on the even an accident. If I get in an accident, guess who's gonna pay for that bus? Or
Wow.
the driver. A
So
lot
you
has
have to have
changed
your
since I
own insurance covering.
yes. Yes. All that was part of training.
Hmm.
Yes.
Wow.
So if anything were to happen, you can't say you don't know because it's on the state test.
And this is what you signed up for.
You signed up for
Wow. Um, Sovereignty says, I will say some children hide for fear of going home.
it. Mm-hmm.
Ask me how I know. Triple check if you like they hide. I'm not sure what the last one is.
Right.
But
Um,
yeah, that I know some children like that. They didn't want to go home
yeah.
after school was out.
Yeah. They
You'd see
love
them
going to
hanging
school.
around
Yeah.
school.
I've heard of that too. I've heard of
Yeah,
that too. Because
like
they
around
go
where
home
I
with
was.
abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh, that's another law. If we see abuse happening at home, guess what? It's our duty to report it to the state. See, a lot of things. If I saw a student sexually or molested, or it's my duty to report it. If I don't report it and they find out, guess who's prosecuted? The
To
driver.
drive.
Because you knew that student was molested. It's funny you brought that was brought up in that quote. Yes. We have to look out for these students, these kids, because they do have real issues. That was part of our training. That's why what Chief was mentioning about the training. Oh yes, that extensive, and we're tested on it. You really got to look out for these students if they go through issues at school, if it's at home, it doesn't matter. No, we have to report it. We have to report
Man, that's a big, that's a lot of responsibility.
it. Yeah, yeah, yes.
I thought it was just driving a bus.
I,
I
well,
mean,
I thought that too, but what I saw, what happened in over 20 years span of what the responsibilities now are,
hmm
yes, you can no longer turn a blind eye no more. No more blind eyes.
you can't say that you didn't know.
You cannot say you did not know because they got video now. Even
hmm
there was a situation where a student was molested on the bus, and the driver said he didn't see it. But they got the camera on the driver, and he can see what you see. So now the kid was back there making noise. How do you not hear that?
Right.
But you know what? Every company is different. Not all companies have cameras on their bus. Not all of them have audio. Our companies just happen to be one. We even I have a motion detector on the bus. That if in case a child, somebody moves, alarm goes off. The buses have alarm systems on them. So when you put that key in, if I don't turn this, the motion detector will go off and the alarm will go off. And that'll trigger, the company will know that alarm is on. That's how serious this company takes about kids being left on the bus. Now, every company doesn't have that. And that also goes back to, and I know you go back to the chat. I did not want, when I said I was going back to driving school, I did not want, I knew there are some companies out there that are dinky, linky dinky, or whatever. I'm saying
You
it right.
can't afford all that stuff.
Oh, no. But it saves you from a lot of liability, though. If I had a company, guess what? I would do that.
And it also puts a lot of children at risk, a lot more
Yeah,
children
look,
at risk.
exactly. Remember, how would you feel if that was your child?
Hmm.
See, it's easy for us to talk about someone else's child. But now let's talk about your child. You loved your child. Can you imagine if something happens and your child comes and it happened on that bus? You're going to be livid. I know I would be. I would be livid. And that child is traumatized. That's not something. I appreciate the laws of change. I appreciate the strictness and the severity that goes along with that job. Now, that's the same thing with the teachers. Now, teachers in their classroom don't have cameras. And they don't have that. We have more restrictions than the teachers do, but I work with the teachers, work with the crossing guards, we work with the school officials. So everything ties in. It's funny. There's more. It's funny how the security of the bus is more secure than a teacher's classroom. That's interesting. But they're still held the same account, but not the same way. It's amazing when I look back at that.
Hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, a serious business to hand over the safety and the almost the rearing of your child to someone else,
Yeah,
because they're with them a good chunk of the day, and the
exactly.
version of you that your children get, depending on what it is you do all day, it's not always the best version. It's a tired, drained version of you.
Yes. I'm more tired because of the driving. I'm not tired of the kids. I get drained because of the physical driving. That's why I actually, to be
No,
funny,
I was
when I
talking
say this.
about their parents.
Right, right.
I was talking about their parents because the first like, think about it, their parents wake up tired. You gotta wake them up, get
Yeah.
them ready, put
They
them
gotta
on
go
the
to work.
bus.
They gotta get the
Then they
kids
go to
ready.
work.
Yeah.
They go through all that stuff they gotta go through at work. A lot of their energy is still on work when they leave work, and then when they get home, their children get this fragmented, tired, empty, I mean, physically drained person, physically, mentally drained. Like you getting like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
sure, just eat the leftovers. Yeah, I can't do it tonight.
And,
Yeah, you can have the ice cream, whatever. Just
right,
get on my face.
right. And it's interesting where our schools, they're no, with our particular schools, things have changed. The kids are when they're not at a bus stop, they're near a school. So if anything were to happen, they can go into the school and wait for the bus, or the parents wait with them. There's no more in the city. Now in the suburbs is
Mm,
different. It's more leeway, like you said, drop off at a corner. But I'm in the city. The kids are picked up either at their home or near the bus stop is near a school. In case something were to happen, they can go into that school and wait. They're not in the inclement weather where they're like in danger. Like say if they're shooting, they
mm,
created it where no, the school is always open in the event of an emergency arises, and they have a monitor at that school or a parent. So
mm,
and it's a whole different system how they have it, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
mm.
But that's inner city kids. I don't know how it is in other cities, but in
Right,
Chicago, that's something they implemented.
got you. Yeah. Imanaya says, I remember a story of a driver that didn't check her bus, left a child asleep on the bus, and the child was found roaming the lot at
Yes,
9 p.m. Excuse me.
yes,
Wow.
yes. In between schools, I have to check my bus. I have a device.
Yeah.
And there's a monitor back there that says, okay, you got to check that. You got to go physically back to the back of the bus and hit it. I check it in between my schools. And I have a monitor. She's got to do it as well as me. We both have to do it. If something ever, there's no excuse. You
Mm,
got two people on that bus. You're supposed to check it and they're supposed to check it. And we have a device that you have to physically utilize that.
mm,
So it's no excuse. But yes, this is something that like Ellen and I was just saying, this is still a national issue.
mm. No, I never realized it was that serious. You know, um, but then again, like y'all got large cities with so many people in them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's like one of your cities is more populated than my country. To put it in perspective, right? I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, you're right. But that's just one city. New York. You have the cities and you have the different barrios or the different neighborhoods. Chicago's still segregated.
Hmm.
Where I pick my students up, some are in the one group of kids is picked up in the, I call it the hood, and my affluent kids, they're picked up in a certain area of the city.
Oh, so everybody got their own pickup spots?
Yeah. Now my special needs students, they rise separately by themselves. They're not with my regular students.
Hmm.
So I literally in the morning I have three schools. Three locations. I have the three set of schools. The funny thing about it, which is weird, um, I have my 4-year-old still ride with my grade school kids, the first group, and they dropped off at two different schools. It's amazing, but
Hmm.
um, but yeah, but they're more affluent. My special needs students, they're more the Hispanic. Um, they're and again but again, all of my students they go both have parents, mother and father in the That's interesting. I didn't even think about that until you asked that question. And I only have one girl on my on my special needs. She's the one. She's the one that terrorizes others. She's the one
Hmm.
that has the situation. She's the one I have to. She's my number one that I have to watch. But I forgot. I only have one young lady. She's 14. She's 14.
Wow.
That's the one. The mom. The situation. But
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, she's extra distressed.
Yes.
Um, on the
She got a
radio
good. She got a good
says,
upper hook. She will knock you out if you're not careful. She's quick. I got hit by her by one. I'm like, okay, you know what? I ain't scared. But damn, I didn't see it coming though.
walk
I didn't see it coming.
it
I'll tell you that.
off. On the radio says, sounds like detrimental effects of having mind-heart balance. I'm not sure. We got to catch up. I'm not sure what you were talking about. Um, Sovereign Eat says on the radio, hiring teachers. How and where? They can't even find teachers these days.
Yeah,
Jesus.
they're having shortages of teachers as well.
Yeah, closer than you think. I thought the person was joking. Um, Joking, but for real though, teachers are literally hiding their credentials. That's sad, man. True, actually, it's happening here in NC as well.
Wow.
So there's a shortage of teachers,
Yeah.
shortage of drivers, a lot of shortages going around
Yeah.
surrounding education. Chief US says, and how are the police equipped to accommodate a special needs child for an untold length of time? You
They're
would
not.
think that there would be a faculty for school districts to temporarily shelter children. Hmm.
Those teachers, when they dismiss them, they're ready to go. They usually open until about an hour after they close, but that's it. They're gone.
Yeah, that is a good question, Oba. It's just the if COs start getting charged, then maybe it will happen less often.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about those correctional officers.
Yep.
Oh, Chief put the verses in the chat. Um, Matthew 6:25 to 34.
Gotcha.
I don't know where this reference was from. I know y'all always got references. They call me Mr. Glass. I don't know where that's from. Only thing I can think of is they call me Mr. Tibbs. Um, Chief US says not knowing your purpose is like a little battle angel. You're wandering around a junkyard, bewildered all your life, wishing you get in the actual game. Without living in purpose, you are not counted. That movie was primarily about her knowing her purpose and living it out.
Mm.
right? Yeah, man. Um, and that's the thing too. Um, you knowing your purpose and not living it out, that's like that's like a hellish kind of experience, you know. And it's so torturing sometimes that you what you do is you try to silence that voice. You want it to be quiet, you know, that inner voice, you know, and you try to silence it. And it's not from a place of humility, it's a place of escapism.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to drown it out with all of these different external factors. It's like the guy from the movie Constantine, you know, who would
Mm-hmm.
always hear all the voices and he would drink to dull his senses so that he wouldn't hear them all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, Sister Yafe says, if we don't listen, then whatever that is may be given to someone else. There were times when I dragged my feet on doing something, I'd see it pop up, and I'd see it pop up in another space. Someone else did it. Yeah, you know, I was thinking about that the other day because I was looking for instrumentals to listen to while I did some homework, and one of them was from this anime. It's called yes, it's called Yasuke, right? And it's about it's a story that I read when I was like maybe 15, 16, but um it was about an African who had been like he was on a ship that was shipwrecked and he wound up in Japan, right? And he wound up getting taken in by a feudal lord and he trained him to be a samurai. And I thought that's so fascinating and I tried to design this character, but I wasn't sure how to do it. So I drew it out and I had the history there, but I left it alone. And Netflix just came up with a special. Yeah. Um, Ram said, Mr. Glass, Unbreakable with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Is that the one with where he's wearing the purple suit
I
and he
think
looks like
so.
he's in a wheelchair?
I didn't see the movie, but I heard about it.
Okay. I remember the line from Kanye West now. Now that makes sense. But we are caught up with the chat.
We are good.
So
Good.
thankfully, you know, we're there,
Good.
yeah, man. But yeah, anything else you wanted to add, Abaru?
No, it's just basically, I would just say that, as we were bringing up, like I said, the silence and for those of us who are still working at breaking balance. And it's funny you mentioned about the subconscious mind. It's funny thing about subconscious, there's that hidden part you don't see, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the part that's the loudest, or they say the hidden part. That's the part where you want to bring that balance. And
Mm-hmm.
so, of course, if you don't utilize this time, the silence, and utilize these tools and apply it and being applicable to your life, you're gonna be a part of that group of those who are walking around like AI. No, no, AI is more intelligent. No, you're gonna walk around like a robot, and you're gonna be programmed, and you're gonna be told what to do without a purpose, and you're just gonna be miserable, and you're gonna be working, 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 regardless, without purpose, without any clarity, without any understanding. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You can't blame nobody because guess what? You're given an opportunity. And so no, that's pretty much it. I
Okay.
just wanted to give thanks for everyone sharing and as we build and and again, again, even this moment of gratitude,
Right.
learning about life. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you and your
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing everything that you did because like we learn a lot about you and what you do and like yeah, just how these youth the dangers that they face, the shortages that the country faces, the messed up policies that they have against the bus drivers but not against CEOs.
mm-hmm.
I learned a lot tonight. Even in an expanded context from what I learned last night speaking with you.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely give thanks for that.
Yeah, and this is, and again, I learned this since September. This is where the training and everything, and I'm like, wow. I again, different than what it was years ago.
Hmm.
And so I'm grateful for the train, because again, every company doesn't do this. So I'm grateful that these are tools like we utilize to help the mind, heart, and balance. These are certain tools that if you don't apply them, you're gonna have problems. And so
Right. And you
that's where
gotta be
gratitude
aware of
comes
what you're
in, the
pulling from.
sanity.
Right. Yeah, the sanity part is key because you gotta be aware of what it is you're pulling from.
Mm-hmm.
That's that subconsciousness. So if you can address what it is that's really that you're sourcing all of your thoughts from,
Mm-hmm.
because it should go from your it should go from that subconscious mind to your thoughts. But if that subconscious mind is polluted, then everything else, like Chief had said in the book, your logical thinking is gonna try to come up with a rationale for the polluted thoughts.
Right.
If you go with the right brain and you say I'm gonna be abstract for it, it's gonna create a whole scenario and a whole mythology around those polluted thoughts. You gotta get back to that source, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of a story that I'd read. Um, there's a book by Khalil Gibran called The Madman. I really like this book, but it's just like a collection of short stories and parables, right? They're not long. That a lot of them are not even a page long, But there's this king who is like he's known for his wisdom, right? And I'll give an abridged version because I think I shared this story before on one of the past lives, but I think it's appropriate here because we're dealing with sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And he was loved for his wisdom, right? And he was feared because he was a formidable king. And but there's this one well that everybody got their water from in the middle of the city. Everybody got their water from the same well. So one night while everybody was asleep, um, it said that a witch came into town and she poured a strange liquid inside of the well. So the next day, the king, everybody but the king and um, his chief advisor had drank in the water out of this well, and they started losing their minds. Right? Everybody was going crazy. But then they started whispering amongst each other, saying that the king and his chief advisor were the ones who were crazy, right? Because everybody was drinking the same well water. So now here it is, we're all insane, but the same people are the ones we gotta watch out for. And the king realized what was about to happen. So he's like, all right, go get some water from the well. And they both drank it, and everybody started rejoicing because the king had regained his sanity.
Mm.
Right? I think there's all kinds of layers to that story. But again, they were drinking from a poisoned well.
Right.
And if you're not careful about what's going on in your subconscious and your inner world, all of those things that you've got going on inside of you that you refuse to acknowledge, there's still poison in you,
Mm-hmm.
and if you keep drinking from it or trying worse, calling yourself a life coach and
Right.
trying to heal everybody else with this poison water, then you're gonna spread sickness, whether it's intentional or not, doesn't matter. It's still sickness. It's still poison. Like
Mm-hmm.
Chief said, if you only get a piece of the knowledge, you don't get the whole thing, and you try to go out there teaching it, you're giving people poison because they're not getting the whole thing,
Right.
you
Right.
know. But that what you had brought up just now, your closing point, that made me think of that. So I had to share it.
Oh no, give thanks. That's a moment. Yeah, that's definitely it ties into what we're sharing. We've been sharing with this fellowship. Um, and yeah, if we don't, if we're not careful, your sanity regard, and that's funny because again, most people don't even recognize they're insane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that's a hell of a thing to walk in your life, and you're crazy and don't know it, but everybody else
Mm-hmm.
knows it, but you. That's a
Right.
hell of a thing to walk like that.
Yeah. I remember Creek Chief bringing that up one time. He said, I think he said, insane people don't know they're insane. So crazy people will acknowledge that they're crazy,
Right,
but an insane person that you keep doing the same thing over and over and not expecting a different result, and expecting a different result. I couldn't even say that right.
right,
It doesn't make sense. But you're doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
right,
Right? That's what happens when your mind and your heart aren't in balance.
right.
It's like that segment Chief did about being stuck in cycles. You're
Mm-hmm.
not developed fully. Either your mind is in balance and disease, or your heart is. And you can't do it alone.
Exactly.
You're gonna have to have people around you who who know you and care about you enough to work through whatever it is that you need to work through and hold you responsible for what it is that you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're responsible for dealing with whatever's hurting you.
Exactly. And that's why I give thanks to Chief because he's always been sharing with us. For those in Anu, this space, like you just said, we are a community. And
Hmm.
how can I mirror the Most High if I don't have the reflection? So you
Hmm.
have again, if you don't know what sanity is, or if you don't know what normalcy is, or what peace of mind is, or if you don't know what balance is, you will live your life not knowing what that is. So I give thanks for Chief giving us that clarity, because all of us came into Anu, we came from chaotic backgrounds, and some of us still have it. But guess
Chief has
what?
told us I knew it's a hospital.
So after a while, the wow, I can see clearly now. The rain is. I don't know. See, that song just came in my head while we were just talking about that. Things like that. Now you can see clearly. I can
Hmm.
see all obstacles in my way. See, but you couldn't see that before. So I just give thanks. Thank you, Master Menelek. You man, see, you be starting stuff. See, but you know what? I give thanks for Chief. I give thanks for Anu. I give thanks to the Most High, and this space. This wow. When you have a clear mind and a peace of mind, you work with purpose and
Hmm.
with confidence. And so I give thanks. Give thanks for this
Yeah,
movement.
man. Definitely give thanks. We have of course we got Bid Day Affirmative tomorrow.
Yes.
12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have Aki El Karar coming back with our educational series, Show and Proof. He always drops the historical gems, you know, I, I really it's like really good insights into history and things that we can apply today. And the sisters are coming back, Dr. Ahava and Sister Maria with our
With the fellowship.
fellowship, right? I almost called it Shema, almost. You're rubbing off on me. uh, but also to announce, we have our Anu retreat, which is
Yeah.
coming up in the summer. So definitely look out for that. And here you go.
Yep.
So this is the QR code that you can scan. And I'll leave that on the screen for a little while. But it's a QR code that you can scan. If you miss it, you can always rewind it and scan it, and definitely fill out that application. Um, Definitely looking forward to it, as I know it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be fun. Going to have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people there, and it's open to the public. So this is usually an exclusive event, but it's open to the public, and you're all welcome.
Right. And
Just
I just want to share with the public,
hmm
that retreat. Listen, uh, if you want, it's beyond words. Um, you don't want to miss it. For those who are invited, it's a sacred space, and it's you're not going to regret it.
Hmm.
You cannot, getting to meet our Anu family, and we get together, and it's, the children. You get to see a community. You get to see things, and we talk about things that you don't talk about everywhere else. But the point is, we got solutions. So I give thanks for that. And also, it's funny, when you mentioned about El Karar, see, a lot of us, for those who don't know about Dr. Ben and Dr. Henry Clark, so see, we got our modernized version in El Karar. He's our modernized. He's the new version of Dr. Ben, and I think of Dr. Dang it, my mind just slipped me just that quick. Uh, Dr.
Dr.
Clark.
Clark.
Dr. Clark,
Okay.
yeah. And he's our modern version of it. And so when he does his segments, like I said, those are deep. I'm still I'm still spellbound when he does his lessons. And you talk about school, I, I wish he was my teacher. Well, no, he is our teacher. What am I talking about? I'm just grateful because he talks about history. So
Mm,
I just give thanks, and again, for fellowship with Akoti Maria and Safta Ahava.
mm.
You're talking about, wow. I share with Akoti Maria. She's a uniqueness, and again, Safta Ahava. I give thanks for their fellowship, because it's a wonderment. But again, this is for all of those, for everyone that's outside of a new. This is what we do. We do
Yeah.
it
We
with
also
passion, with love, and giving it back. So yeah.
right, right. And we have another um we have another segment that I did not bring up,
Hmm.
and that is tomorrow. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think that's the right time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sister Yafe. This is the Warm Room Season 2, and the sisters are going to be speaking on the concept of what is a natural woman.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, there's a part of what it sparked this idea or this concept was there was a trans activist group. I think they were out of Norway, and they were claiming that the lyrics to Aretha Franklin's song "Natural Woman" would it would encourage people to, or it would incite violence against trans people.
Huh?
That's everybody's reaction.
Wow.
That's like that's like the common reaction, right? Um, yeah, man, it's a lot. Come on down, show up and jump in the chat, and you could put your in the chat,
Yep.
along along with building with the sisters. I know it's going to be a very provocative build, but it's a much needed build. A lot of people have reacted to it, but it's never been from a community standpoint. It's always uh, one or two lone YouTubers, and they would speak about it for like 4 or 5 minutes. After they're done commenting, they'll go on to something else.
Mm.
But having the sisters in the community speak on why womanhood is being morphed and distorted in order to fit um, in order to fit the whims and the delusions and fantasies really of such a small group of the population.
Mm.
So that's going to be interesting. Like
Yeah.
it's not just that is natural. It's not just natural woman. It's the term mother is being slowly changed into birthing person, right? Or like or breastfeeder, right? So it's an interesting thing, an interesting phenomenon where these people are, on the one hand, corralling women to say we're standing in solidarity with you, but also trying to erase what a woman is so that they can be more comfortable with their delusion and the steps that they've taken to sort of confirm it.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I look forward to, because again, the world's got there's a misconception.
Right.
And it's funny you mentioned about womanhood. In that conservatory, I got to see the mothers with their children. And it's nothing for a man to see a woman in her natural state, in her loving state of her love with her child. And one of the mothers, the daughter, the little girl, she, I still think of that woman's name today. But the point is, I love that, to see a woman in her natural state. And but anyhow,
Yeah.
I look forward to that. That's it. I look forward to tomorrow. That's gonna be something, because we lost. A lot of us are losing our way. We're trying to we're trying to tackle on things that's not us.
Right, and that goes back again to that mind-heart imbalance. What's in your subconscious, and what's been loaded into your subconscious, um, very is like step feeding. You add a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, and you don't notice or you don't realize it how subtly your nature is being distorted.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that could have happened is if you take the man out of the equation, because he's the one who's going to put his foot down. Like, what? No, and that's it. But you don't see that. You don't see that father mother child
Mm-hmm.
equation. You don't see the divine family anymore. You don't see that modeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the sisters are going to get into it, and I'm looking forward to it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
This
it's going to be a
topic
good
we're
deal.
talking about, and I'm glad I'm looking forward to it tomorrow night. Um, is needed, especially in the Black community. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh! I mean, it's needed everywhere. But people, get this paradigm of Black men and women. Y'all, damn it! I don't care about anybody that want to do it out there. Like Chief said, I don't care about how Satan wants to do it. But guess what? In this space,
Mhm.
I ain't dealing with y'all. No. Those of us make it. We gonna make it happen. We gonna make it
Right.
happen.
Right.
No excuses.
Yeah.
So give thanks.
This isn't like we barely we scratched the surface of
Right.
this topic,
Right.
but there's a lot more to come, and these topics, these segments that we have, none of them stop. Like I don't want anyone watching them to think that you stop building on them, you stop thinking about them when the live ends. And it's like, well, I just consumed something. Let me go consume something else. Really sit with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you have to sit with those thoughts that you've been suppressing, sit with it and allow it to actually heal you. That's what all of these segments, because they're put out here so that we can get right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave it at that, and we can jump off now.
Yeah. Give
Yeah,
thanks.
man.
Shabbat
Give
shalom to
thanks.
everyone. Chief, you
Shabbat
y'all give
shalom,
thanks.
everyone. Yeah, definitely. Give thanks, Chief. Give thanks for everybody who wrote it out with us. Peace.
Peace.